Hi, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you for being so patient. So just as a quick introduction for myself, I'm Vish, and I bring with me about 15 plus years of experience on enterprise architecture, business transformation. I'm a published author. I do a lot of work around data science and innovation as well. And yes, that is something in a nutshell that I bring with me. And I'm a certified TOGAF practitioner 9.1, also on Archimate 2.0 and IT for IT, which is their latest standard for business of IT. And yes, I continue to keep myself abreast with the latest trends and technologies. Now, as a quick intro for yourself, I would request you guys to quickly write your name, location, the kind of years of experience that you bring in with, and of course, what is your expectation at the end of this class? I understand that all of you would be going through this as a preparatory class to get certified on TOGAF 9.1. So yes, that is one expectation aside. Apart from that, anything that you would like to share or provide your inputs so that I can tailor this entire course and try and be more specific to your requirements and try to meet those expectations as well. Okay. Now, very quickly, guys, I'll take you through some just expectations from our end to the benefit of the entire audience out here, so that we at least try and keep some basic ground rules in place, some basic hygiene in place. Okay. So very quickly, guys, if you see on my screen, you would see that we have an email address and a number. So in case if you feel any issues around that you're not able to connect and there is some missing recordings at a later stage maybe, feel free to drop in an email to the support ID, and you can also call on this number. Okay. Now try to ensure that you attend all the classes or the sessions that we go through. I'll tell you the reason. You do have a lifetime access of the learning management system from Edureka that will provide you access. But the beauty of a live session is that it is interactive, okay? So if you have any questions, let's say, for example, right, I'll try and immediately address them, okay? I'll be able to go ahead and provide examples to them, okay? Now, I have started getting responses, so I'll start taking them up once I just discuss the basic ground rules, guys, if that is okay. And okay. So we would expect you to have at least a 2 Mbps line, which is a basic one, so that you get a pretty good, decent flow. Okay. Every course will have, or every session will be a timed session of, let's say, of 3.5 hours. We would try and take, of course, logical breaks of 5 minutes to 7 minutes. I would expect that in the benefit of the entire audience out here, that we maintain that time duration so that we can also take up questions which you might have during these 45 minutes, during these breaks. And also, if you have any, of course, bio breaks are always most welcome. You don't have to wait for these breaks. Feel free to go ahead and take in breaks as per your requirement. But yes, be in sync with me if possible. And feel free to type in the questions, guys, like I mentioned. And if you feel that your question is, or I'm not able to interpret your question in the right way, please go ahead and let me know. I'll unmute you and you can ask that question to me. Okay, and the audience can also listen into you. All right. And very, very important, guys, to my benefit, to improve this class's requirement and the session's expectations from you, I would expect you and request you to fill the survey at the end of each session. Try to go ahead and attempt the quizzes. They have been made to ensure that you understand or you have understood the concepts, and try and take case studies for whichever module we have case studies. Okay, that's it, and this is like an expectation from our end, and it is just for the benefit of the entire audience. Okay, now very quickly, guys, thank you. I see Dhaval Patel. Thank you, Dhaval, for joining us. I see that you're a solution architect with 11 years of experience working with TCS. Good, Dhaval, welcome to the class. I see Anil. Anil hasn't mentioned anything yet, but I see Siddhesh Bhandarkar. Welcome, Siddhesh. You're from UK. Great, man. Joining this session will definitely help you do wonders out there, because I have been there a couple of times for a couple of firms. I see that you worked for 9 years now and working as a DevOps specialist. Great, great. Sure, I'll try my best, Siddhesh, to try and cover the principles of architecting a system, and would try and ensure that you align it to the enterprise as well. Hi, Shubhajit. Welcome. I see that you're a COA leader for smarter processes. Great. You aspire to be an enterprise architect. Amazing. You understand, or you would like to solve business challenges and also like to pass TOGAF certification. Absolutely, Shubhajit. I'll try and ensure that you take the best from me that I have. Okay. And of course, you should be able to clear it with that. Okay. Sure, Siddhesh. We'll try and cover the aspects of TOGAF certificate. In fact, the introduction will be all about it. Is it 2.5? Mohan, if it is that heartbreaking to you, it is 3.5 hours, man. It is not 2.5 hours. Okay. Dhaval, apart from exam, would like to know industry-wide. Sure, Dhaval. I'll try and cover these as we move on. And yes, as we discuss examples and all, I'll try and cover all the relevance of why TOGAF is the most widely accepted methodology and framework. Okay. Mehul, welcome, Mehul. I see that you're based out of New Jersey with 10 years of experience as SQL developer, great, and design solutions, and your expectation is to learn concepts about enterprise architecture to become an enterprise architect or a solution architect. Absolutely, Mehul. I'll try and bring that learning curve for you, wherein I'll also discuss how from your respective roles you can become, or you would start seeing things in an enterprise architect kind of a manner. Okay. Thank you for joining this session. Rajesh, you're from Singapore. You have been in the industry for 12 years. Great. And you're a cybersecurity analyst, a very soft and most sought after talent these days. But yes, we will try and ensure that you also see things in a bigger picture as an enterprise architect now, which will add value to your existing skill sets as well. Thank you, Rajesh. Hi, Anil. I see that you work as a big data architect in US. You have about 12 years of experience in software development, 2 years as a Java enterprise architect, as well as big data architect, and your expectation would be to become an excellent enterprise solution architect in both server-side and big data application. Absolutely, Anil. Honored that you could join us, and yes, we will try and ensure, like for everyone else, that we see things in a much more digital framework as well, and how service-oriented architecture will be possible in a much better way by using TOGAF methodologies and the foundations. Okay, thank you, Dayanil. Manikandan, I see that you have a 9 years of experience working with TCS. I don't know, Manikandan. Okay, you are based out of Kuwait, I see. Okay, and you're an enterprise service bus tech lead. Thank you, Manikandan. Welcome to the class. Mohan, I see that you have about 15 years of experiences, primarily into data warehousing and business intelligence. Mohan will try and bring the best again for you in terms of understanding how business intelligence and data analytics today is being used or being driven by enterprise architects to transform businesses. Okay. Okay, Rajesh, I see your expectation as well. Security framework like COBIT 5 or ISMS. Okay. Yes, we will try and cover these, Rajesh, but please understand that we'll stick to TOGAF, but we will try and also address how COBIT 5 or governance models help or complement TOGAF. Okay. Okay. Siddhesh, you would like to get okay, Siddhesh, we'll discuss about this later. All right. Mohan, I feel TOGAF is a bit dry subject. Well, I'll try to make it fun for you for sure, because like I said, I write a lot on this subject and in different practice areas. So I'll make it relevant for you if I will try my best, but I'll leave it to you guys, okay? Okay. And okay, Mohan has, so wanted to have an interactive and useful. Absolutely, Mohan, I'll do my best. And I see that you're also based out of Toronto. Welcome to the class. And sure, Agile, we'll discuss this with this for sure. Okay. So very quickly, guys, thank you for all your introductions, and I'll try to remember all the names. If not, please pardon me, and feel free to type in any questions as we move on and as we go ahead in these sessions. Okay. It is all because of you that it will be interactive, and this is the reason I would advise you guys to try and be available if possible. I know every one of you would be working, and hence you have chosen to take a weekend class. So if you can, please try and attend live sessions, because this is where we will discuss and we make it more not dry a discussion. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, very quickly, I'll also take you through the learning management platform of Edureka here. Okay, now if you see on my screen, this is the dashboard, so to speak, that you would see in terms of the learning management platform or the system that is provided to you from Edureka. On the right, you would see your name very quickly, and if you click on your name, you would be able to see some options like, you know, your profile and other stuff. Okay, and so this is where you will try and update your profile and stuff. And on the left-hand side, which is more important and relevant for us all, is actually the TOGAF training window, wherein you would see a getting started section, which will tell you about, okay, how it works, what are the things there, okay? Then there's a small video on the learning management system, on how to use it in a much more efficient way. And then you have what matters to you most is the course content, okay? So it has been pretty much bifurcated into different modules. Okay, it has, again, as you see, you will be able to see the presentation, download the case studies, and where relevant, you will also see quizzes. Okay, so it is a mix between the course content, the quizzes, and the case studies. Again, quizzes and case studies are something that I would request you guys to take, and of course, presentations are there for your entire life, like whenever you want to access them. Okay. And there are two other options, guys, which are very, very useful to you when needed. So support works exactly like a ticketing system. Okay. So if you have any issues around the platform, or if you have any questions around it, so by default, since I only have TOGAF training here, so you will have your training, the registered training. If you have a category, like if you have an installation issue, you have a learning management system issues when you're not able to download any presentation, which you will not be able to, but say if you're not able to view any presentations for some manner or some issues, so then you can go ahead and raise it around it, type in a detail and maybe take a screenshot and attach it. Okay, and then you have another quick information section here, which is more around the forums. And in forums, it works exactly like a discussion platform, wherein you will be able to post your queries, and you will be able to get like it's like a WhatsApp group here. Okay, so you'll be able to discuss things and, you know, discuss ideas, discuss whatever has been put together during these sessions. Okay, so going forward, this is where you will be coming for your class recordings and everything. All right. So having said that, guys, welcome again, and wishing you guys an amazing 2017, and I'm sure that you guys have taken the first step. Definitely that if you are wanting to go for TOGAF, it is one of the most sought after certifications these days, and it has been now realized as one of the most value add courses that one can take. Okay, now let me start with our first module. And again, guys, feel free to type in your questions, pop in any recommendations or anything that you would want me to discuss in particular during any session. Okay, so now I'll go full screen mode, and I'll start with module 1, which is the introduction, wherein a couple of gentlemen wanted to know on the roadmap. I believe it was Rajesh or Siddesh. Okay. Okay. So let's start, and here's module 1 for you. Now, very quickly, guys, just to give you a brief, and there are people in the group as well who have been experienced developers who have been experienced business analytics, data warehousing professionals. You have been into the industry for more than 10 years on an average, I see. So you know that technology has always been, a blind spot for the business, right? And so has been the other way around in most of the cases, right? Just stereotyping it. Now, enterprise architecture as a skill tries to bridge this gap, okay? Now, TOGAF is also a framework and provides a methodology, okay? So hence it has been more widely expected to have brought in more value, okay? Because it is also what that it provides you, where to put that what, and how to apply the what and where, okay? So it is a framework and a methodology, okay? But primarily you would see TOGAF as a methodology because frameworks are only its, let's say, a part of its subjects from the entire curriculum is a couple of frameworks, okay? But the entire TOGAF is a methodology, okay? All right. Now, sorry guys, when I toggle this, you would think I'll just be going to take in questions if I toggle it, okay? So I'll try to stop toggling a lot. I'll try to stick to that 45-minute rule if that's all right. And we'll try to take in questions by the fag end of the 45 minutes or during the breaks, all right? Okay. So very quickly, we will try and cover about 32 modules or 31 modules in total, of which we will try and cover everything that has been slated for you to be able to prepare pretty well for TOGAF and achieve the certification. Okay, so we'll start with the introduction, which is more around how and what will it take in terms of the exam, the minutes or the timed exams that you have to take in. And then we'll discuss some core concepts from TOGAF of what it is made up of. Then we will try and discuss the methodology of TOGAF that I was talking about, which is the introduction to the architecture development methodology. Then we will discuss the framework, which is one of the subject or one of the modules in the entire TOGAF methodology, which is the architecture content framework. Then we will move to module 5, which discusses the enterprise continuum. The architecture content framework and enterprise continuum, guys, would be one of the most important pieces of information that you will use in your day-to-day life as an enterprise architect, okay? And then you would move to module 6, which is the architecture work products, which are nothing but your deliverables and what you would be providing to your internal customers or external customers. We will also discuss in module 7 around stakeholder management, though it is at number 7, but this is throughout the cycle, guys. You would always start with this, and you would continue to do stakeholder management throughout the process. All the tenured people out here in the group, you understand how important this is, okay? Now in module 8, we will discuss around architecture patterns, or let's say more in terms of a layman's language. What are the different, other examples of methods and techniques that you can incorporate to make your end result more fabulous, okay? So if there are existing architectural methods, designs, patterns, you would try and use them, okay? In module 9, we will discuss about architectural partitioning and the organization. This sounds very complex, but it is very simple. You would go ahead and divide and conquer, okay? This is what it means. All right. Now, in terms of module 10, we will discuss around architecture capability framework. Now, in architecture capability framework, anything that can be measured can be improved, right? So the capability framework would discuss around how you would put a benchmark onto where we are in terms of the architecture today, okay? And how you would create that framework is what is part of module 10, okay? In module 11, we will discuss what a couple of gentlemen were also discussing around COBIT. So we will also discuss about architectural governance, which is more around the controls and what would be required to keep a tight leash on the entire architectural methodology so that we achieve the end game. Okay. In terms of Module 12, we'll discuss the architectural compliance and risk management to ensure that you understand that if there is one of the gears that don't work today, what will happen to the other gears. Okay. So you will try and align what compliance and risk management practices we will need to take. Module 13 is architecture principles. Again, though it is module 13 in terms of chapter, but then this is again something that you would visit and revisit throughout your architectural development methodology. In module 14, we will discuss around, and we will start from here, the actual phases, okay, of the architectural development methodology established by the Open Group of Architecture Framework. In 15, we will discuss business scenarios where and how you will connect the dots. Module 16, you would start with what is the architecture vision, which will be aligned to what the business expects. Okay. In 17, we will go and discuss around architecture implementation support techniques on how you will provide different kinds of support systems so that the implementation is smooth. Okay. Now remember, guys, this is enterprise architecture, hence we will try and ensure that so you would have to rethink or change your hat from an implementer or today a developer or today a guy who is into Java and J2E completely into a solution level to a much higher level. So you will have to change that hat to think from 20,000 feet above. Okay, so this is where we will discuss more in detail. In module 18, we will discuss around the business architecture, wherein we will discuss what is the business goal, the business vision, how are we going to connect the dot from business to the actual technology enablers. This is what we'll discuss here. In module 19, we will go ahead and discuss the information systems architecture. This is where the common systems architecture and how different information systems are connected. What is the information that is getting created, read, updated, or deleted? How can we bring in, lesser redundancy and make a single version of truth, let's say, for example, for the data. So this is where we will discuss it more in detail. Okay. In module 20, we will discuss around the technical reference model. Again, this is a example which has been provided by TOGAF to pick and start using. Hence, it is the foundation architecture. But we will also see how to apply it in a real time or on a real project. Okay. Now, in module 21, we will discuss around the IIIRM Common Systems Architecture, which is nothing but information infrastructure reference model, which is a common systems, again, moving from a generalist to a more specific one to your cases. We'll discuss this in detail there. In module 22, we will discuss around the technology architecture on how and what infrastructure requirements are needed, how are they connected, what are the building blocks that we will use to create such. In phase E, or the ADM module 23, we will discuss around how during an ADM cycle or the architecture development methodology cycle, you will come up with different opportunities, or you would have a Eureka moment that, okay, yeah, this is something that we can improve upon. So yes, how you would go ahead and advise those things. Okay. In phase F, which is module 24 in this case, we will discuss around the migration planning, right? So you have identified a solution, let's say, okay, that today from capability A or from state A to state B, we will need 3 years, right? So how would you go around that? So you will create a migration plan. You will advise such, right? So this is what we'll discuss in module 24. In module 25, we will go around the implementation governance, not the implementation guide. Okay. So implementation will be specific to project and program management, but we will provide architectural governance to that. Okay. In module 26, we will go ahead and discuss around the change management, that if from phase A to phase B, if we are going to go, then what is the disruption that will be caused in my organization or in my business for that matter. Okay, so TOGAF provides you with the change management flow, so we will discuss that in detail. In Module 27, we will discuss architecture requirements management. Now, many of you might have already seen the picture of ADM. You know requirements management sits in the center, right? And you would always be visiting it. So this is exactly one of the other, I would say, processes, or one of the other important subjects that you would always be visiting again and again, okay, to ensure you are relevant and you have the latest information. In Module 28, we will discuss around architecture development methodology, iterations and levels, exactly to the point that I started off this session with, that in TOGAF ADM, you have an iteration. It is not just a one anti-clock or a one clockwise direction. You would always visit between the phases as well. You'll go, check, come back, go, check, come back. So plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, act. Okay, this is how you will go around it. In 29, we will discuss security architecture and the ADM. Again, guys, this is the security architecture at an enterprise architecture. We will not be delving into very integrity details around what are the protocols, whether it is Kerberos or whether it is LDAP, you know. So those kind of details, we will leave it to the solution implementation team, all right? But then, yes, we will touch quite relevant things here, which is more relevant for an enterprise architect to understand and provide guidance around. And in Module 30, like I was saying, we will dive more into on how service-oriented architecture is getting more impacted by TOGAF's ADM and how we can help it in terms of a TOGAF practitioner or an enterprise architect. Okay. In Module 31, we'll go around the course review and what all things we have covered, and this will be a milestone wherein you will have most likely and hopefully with my little knowledge that I could share with you guys, you will have enough information to make it big in the enterprise architecture field. I hope so. And you will be able to make an impact in your respective fields and organizations. Okay. Now, let's start with how the TOGAF certification for people program is structured and what would require you to have it getting certified from your end. What are the time sessions? What are the exams? Okay. Now, by the end of this module, you should be able to understand the levels of certification, the paths for certification, and the requirements that is detailed out by the TOGAF group. In terms of the entire understanding of this, it is a common baseline of knowledge, and ensure that individuals are knowledgeable about TOGAF, provides a visible trust mark. Of course, the reason you are here is because you already take or have taken that as a fact that yes, TOGAF is one of the most reputed certifications these days. Okay. Next, you would see that there are two levels there, which is level 1, TOGAF 9 Foundation, and there is the 9 Certified. So in Foundation, the purpose is very simple, that you understand that, okay, the candidate has gained knowledge of the terminologies, the basic concepts of TOGAF 9, understands the core principles of enterprise architecture and TOGAF. The certified professional is that you understand in terms of knowledge and comprehension, and you can analyze and apply the knowledge of TOGAF, guys. So this is very important. The first one is focused on understanding it. The second one is more around the real-time or the real-life application of that knowledge. Okay. Now, in terms of foundation training, as you can read through, that the target audience is more in terms of individuals who require basic understanding, professionals who are working in roles which are architectural projects in terms of planning, execution, development, delivery, and operation. And then in terms of, you would get a first-time or first-hand introduction to TOGAF 9. And then in terms of level 2 certification, you aspire to become a certified level 2 practitioner now. So this is the kind of audience in foundation that you expect. In a certified training, which is the level 2, you would expect the audience to have a much more deeper understanding of TOGAF 9. You would expect the professionals who are working in organization which has adopted TOGAF 9 and who are using TOGAF as a methodology to implement different architectural projects. Okay, and you would also be responsible for developing architectural artifacts. architects who wish to introduce TOGAF 9 into an architecture practice. So you might have your organization working on J2EE frameworks, .NET frameworks, but now you want to bring in a methodology which is not confined with technology. Yes, TOGAF 9 is your architecture methodology. So, you could become that evangelist into your organization. Then architects who want to achieve a recognized qualification to demonstrate their knowledge on TOGAF 9. So this is where level 2 practitioner certification is valuable for you. Again, this is a pictorial representation of how the certification looks like. Then in terms of prerequisite, TOGAF 9, this is a bridging option. So if somebody in the group is TOGAF 8 certified, so you would have a bridge and then you would connect it to TOGAF 9 and TOGAF 9 Foundation. And again, when I say bridge, it is more around trainings and it has its own set of classes and it has its own set of exams that you need to take, and then you can appear for the TOGAF 9 certified course. Okay, now this is a pictorial representation. So if you are a TOGAF 8 certified, then you go for the bridging option to level 2, which is TOGAF 8 certified to TOGAF 9 certified upgrade training, and then you appear for the examination, you clear it. Okay, if you're not, then of course you can take the foundation and the upgrade training, level 1 and 2 together, and appear for the certified training, or you can directly go to level 2 and get a certified training. Okay, and a prior knowledge of enterprise architecture is good. Like I see, like 20 to 30% of our colleagues out here have already had an experience into or some exposure into enterprise architecture, which is amazing, but it is not required, guys. Okay. Now, during the course, you would become familiar with the TOGAF 9 version 9.1 body of knowledge, but you can also find it free of cost on the Open Group's website also. So the information is free of cost and it does not require you to purchase such, but it is quite detailed, so it does require you to invest a lot of time. Okay, and again, this is a preparatory class. The certification is a separate one. Okay, so you will have to appear for an exam, write a, not an open book examination, a timed one, and then appear for the certification. Okay, now in terms of the foundation course content, there is a course introduction, there is a management overview, TOGAF 9 components to it, and introduction to the ADM, like I was saying about the entire process from A to H. And then you will have the enterprise continuum, which discusses the enterprise continuum, the architecture continuum, and the solution continuum. Then you would have architecture repository, which is your bread and butter. When you have already started working on projects, you will understand why I say so. And then you will have architecture governance, which is of a prime importance because most of the time enterprise architect would not be doing a lot of implementation, but a lot of governance work. Okay, and in terms of the course content, it continues to have views and viewpoints, building blocks, like I was saying, and the ADM, how they connect, the development methodology phases, the guidelines and techniques, the key deliverables that you will produce at the end of each phase, reference models like the IIRM, the TRMs, okay, the technology reference, the information infrastructure models. So these are some reference models that you'll use, and the certification program. Now, TOGAF has also published the book, a hardcover book that you can purchase and you can read. Okay, or you can read the document number G116. Okay, now I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there is also exam code. I think it will be by the end of this presentation, but if not, it's OG093, which is the exam code of TOGAF. Now you can Google it also if you want. Okay, so in terms of the components of TOGAF 9 Foundation, there are 13 learning units, and in TOGAF 9 Certified, there are 13 learning units, plus the 27 learning units, plus the 1 migration unit, which you remember from 8 to 9, there is a bridging one. This is the one. Okay, the learning units are nothing but basic concepts, the core concepts, general definitions, introduction to the ADM, enterprise continuum tools, ADM phases, guidelines and techniques, architecture governance level 1, architecture views, viewpoints, stakeholders, building blocks, deliverables. These are some list, okay? You will also have level 2 learning units, which is around preliminary phases, level 2 governance, business scenario techniques. There are many techniques out here. You'll have architecture vision, the architecture content framework, wherein you will have all the building blocks stored and how you will use it, stakeholder management on how you will understand which stakeholder is more important for this project than the other. Okay, you'll have the content meta models, the implementation support techniques, the business architecture, and the other ADM phases. Yeah. Okay. Any questions, guys, by this time? Very quickly. Okay, I don't see any questions. Okay, so moving on next, in terms of learning units, you will also, for level 2, you will have the SOA principles and how ADM will be adopting it, the architecture maturity models, and the skills framework. Okay, again, skills framework is something to do with the people or the person capability on what kind of skills would be required when you're hiring for your teams as an architect, or what kind of skills would be required when you would be promoting someone, and what skill gaps are present. Okay. Okay. Now, in terms of exam 1 requirements, as I was saying, in terms of foundation or the certified, it is not an open book. So exam type is MCQ, multiple choice questions, 40 questions, 60 minutes. Okay. Supervised, yes. Open book, no. Okay. In terms of level 2 for new candidates, as you can see, level 2 requires passing 2 examinations, exam 1 to the, which is identical to level 1 examination, which leads to TOGAF 9, and a direct to level 2, which is passing the single exam, TOGAF 9 combined 1 and 2. Okay, so even I took directly 9 and 2 together, so as in 1 and 2 of TOGAF 9, so this is a much better approach, I believe. Okay, now in terms of if you're taking a stepwise development, then of course you will go through the exam 1, 40 questions, around 60 minutes, supervised, yes, open book, no. But in exam 2, you get an option, but then it is a scenario-based one. Hence, they have allowed you to go ahead and open your books. But trust me, if you've gone through pretty well, you would not require to open books. Okay? But of course, it is a freedom. Okay? Now, in terms of level 2 for new candidates, again, it is an open book. You know, you will have 40 questions around 60 minutes. Section 2 has complex scenarios, 8 questions, 90 minutes. Now you understand 8 questions, 90 minutes means you would have business scenarios, IT scenarios, and you would address them by writing, okay? And there are 150 minutes of total timed, and dependent on section number 1, no, section 2, yes, okay, which is the scenario-based exams, wherein you'll be able to open books and go through it. Okay. Now, in terms of exam via bridge requirements, you will have exam type, a single exam consisting of multiple choice knowledge-based questions, complex multiple choice-based questions, 20 plus 8 questions around 120 minutes, and this is an open book exam. Okay. But then this is a bridge requirement, wherein you will move from TOGAF 8, okay, to TOGAF 9. Okay. Now, in terms of combined part 1 and 2 exam, each section must be passed in order to obtain an overall pass marks. If the candidate fails a section, then no certification is awarded. However, the candidate needs to retake the examination corresponding failed sections only. Okay, the candidate must wait 1 month before a retake. And at the time it was 60%. I'm not sure what is the current rate in terms of the percentage that you have to bring in to clear the examination. At the time it was 60%. Okay. Now within 6 working days of receipt of the exam results, the candidate will receive an email, and you will be invited to log in to complete the certification process, which is basically your credentials, emails, and address. And you will also get a free membership. It is not mentioned here, but you will also get a free membership to AEA. Okay. Of course, you have to apply with your details, and then you can print your certificate and you can adjust the register entry to make it public. Okay, so very quickly, guys, we have done pretty well on the first module. It was pretty quick. Do you guys have any questions now for people who wanted around what is the roadmap to the examinations and all? I see a couple of questions. Okay, so I see a question. TOGAF 9.1 are the same. Yes, Mohan, they are the same. 9.1 is actually 9.1 is an incremental update, not a huge update to TOGAF 9. So it is fair to say TOGAF 9 and 9.1 is the same. Okay. Is it only for development aspect? No. TOGAF is not at all related to development actually. So let me understand. This is MS Sadashivan. Sorry. Okay, MS Sadashivan, do you mean development as an IT application or a certain development of that kind? Or do you mean a development as the development that TOGAF says, which is an architectural development methodology when we develop the architecture, not the product? Okay. Is there any PDF book which we can use at home to prepare for exam? Rajesh, there is actually a couple of free online examination or mock tools. Okay, but even if you are prepared as such, the kind of case studies we have and the quizzes we have, I've gone through all of them actually. So you should be pretty okay with this too, as in if you attended. Yes, MS Sadashivan, exactly. It is the kind of architecture that we will have as a development. Okay. So any other questions, guys, very quickly, or we will move to module 2. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Do you guys want to take your first break, by the way? If you guys want, we can take a 5-minute and be back in 5 minutes if you want. So we can resume the webinar in about 5 minutes. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, you can type in and I can take it now. So we have an official break now and we'll be back at 8:52 Indian time, 8:52 p.m. Indian time. And in the meantime, I'm here if you guys want any questions to be answered, apart from these that we have taken. Any questions? No? Okay. So we'll be back by 8:52, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome back. I see a lot of questions. I'm just trying to answer quickly to the ones I can in a very short time. And let me try and in the meantime open. Okay. So I have a question. Best book for preparation. Scenario based. Yes, they are. What is the frequency of version changes? So, Mr. Sadashivam, do you mean the frequency of the version changes of TOGAF? It is very, very rare. Unless it is very, very frequent, I would have told you otherwise, but it is very rare. Like 8 and 9 took around a decade. Include certification cost as well. Siddesh, I think this should have already been conveyed to you, whether or not, but I can still check, or you can write it to the support team actually, if this is covered, as in you'll get a examination code, as in you'll get an examination voucher, I believe, if it is covered. So you can check it with the support team for sure. Can I first take foundation once we are done with the first part of it? Yes, of course. So once we are completing the entire, once we are complete with these sessions and the trainings, all 31 modules, I think, Rajesh, you should be able to take the foundation one. And of course, there is a part 1 and 2 combined that you can take. Any timeline to complete the examination? I believe there is a, to complete the exam, yes, there is a time to complete the exam, but to appear for the exam, it is completely upon you. Once a voucher is released, I think it is around 45 days or 30 days. Okay, Anil, is there any question? Is there any practice test before taking any real exam? Is there any additional fee for second attempt? Of course there is. Best book for preparing the exam in case. Okay, so the best book, Anil, like I mentioned to you, is TOGAF 9.1 book published by TOGAF, but the entire website is dedicated to the subjects and the curriculum. Okay, so if you open TOGAF's website, you will have the complete, even in the presentation, you will get the link and you can open it and read at your will. It is very, very elaborate. include the certification? Yes, they should. Of course, we can write it to the support team. For part 2, will the questions be MCQ type? Yes, they are. They are not multiple choice questions per se. Suvajit, it is more around. It is scenarios. Okay, so they will present you scenarios, and then you can choose from one or two, and you can answer them. Shall I write the answer? Yes, you will have to write the answers with explanation. Rajesh mentions, let's say till 30th January, if you're done with the modules which will cover level 1, can I appear, or that I will complete the entire course? I'll be able to put. So my suggestion, Rajesh, to you would be that instead of just appearing for the foundation, you should aim to appear for 1 and 2 both together, which is, as per me, it is time saving. Also, it will bring your certification to life faster, so you don't have to actually wait to come, because TOGAF has been kind in not putting any benchmark for you to just appear for one exam. Okay, Rajesh, I mean, can I take just the foundation exam on 30th Jan and level 2 on 15th February? Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Rajesh. There is no restriction per se on that. Okay, so I hope that I have been able to answer almost all the questions here. In case there is still any question, please feel free to type in. I'll take them as soon as we are complete with module 2, if that's okay, guys. Okay, so let's go with module 2 now, and we will start with the core concept very quickly. Shall we get the result of certification immediately after? Shubhajit, like I mentioned in the presentation as well for module 1, that it takes some time for the certification to come into your email. You have to then click on that email and then provide your details to fill in. No fees fees for reattempt is customer is okay. Yes, Mehul, for the sections that you are not able to clear, there should not be any fees, I believe. For the entire exam to be retaken, yes, of course, there is a fees. Okay. But yes, guys, any questions around whether this course fee includes your examination fee for TOGAF? Please feel free to write to the support, because at times, I might not be as a trainer aware of what is the amount that has been, put in together for your entire certification course. Okay, fair enough? Great. Okay, so guys, I'm moving to module 2 with your permission now, and I'll start off here. So as we discussed, guys, in module 1, so in module 1 we basically went ahead and discussed around what are the different certification paths, how can you take these certifications, what is the modus operandi of these exams, whether it is an open book, closed book, what is the value that TOGAF will bring to you, what is expected out of foundation and an expert practitioner from TOGAF. Okay. Now, in module 2, we will take that to the next level, wherein we will discuss around the core concepts which are a requirement for foundation level clearance. Okay. So this slide will be boring because it will all be around definitions and the I would say the words and their definitions. Okay, so this might be a drag, so feel free to ask questions and make it entertaining. I'll try to link it to the real life example. Just a question, what is that? Shall we know the outcome of the exam immediately or after 3 days? Okay, so we just very quickly to answer your question, you will know the outcome immediately. Okay, but as the certificate and other things, links and everything will come in later. Okay, perfect. All right, guys. So back to the presentation. Just a second, guys. Okay. 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 So in terms of core concepts, we will go ahead and start with them. Okay. So at the end of this module, you should be able to introduce the basic concepts of enterprise architecture and TOGAF. You should understand the core concepts of TOGAF. You should be able to understand the key terminologies, the words and how and where they are used. And when they are used, you should be able to understand, okay, this is the meaning of this and this is what the context is. Okay? Okay. Here we start with the key definitions. Guys, again, I say this might get boring, so please bear with me. I'll try to link it to the real life and the real world so that you see the relevance of these definitions. The first things first. Why do we need to define these words or these terminologies is the reason behind the disparity between business and technology. Okay, so when we define a particular word and we enforce the usage, we bring in a common language. So when I say application, you would not say application, which means a different application. Okay, so when I say application to a business guy, as a technology guy, he would understand that it is a deployed and operational IT system that supports business functions and services, for example, a payroll. Applications use data and are supported by multiple technology components, but are distinct from the technology components that support the application, right? So here it does not mean Android application. It does not mean iOS application. It is application at the highest level. Okay, this is the business definition of application, or even better, it's an enterprise architect's definition of application. Okay. Okay. In terms of application architecture, here if you read it, it is a description of the major logical grouping of capabilities. Guys, please pay attention to logical grouping. It is not physical grouping. Okay. It does not address physical, the solution level. It means the major logical grouping of capabilities that manage the data objects necessary to process the data and support the business. Okay. In terms of the definition for architecture, it is a formal description of a system or a detailed plan of the system at component level to guide its implementation. This definition is from ISO IEC 420102007. The structure of components, their interrelationships, and the principles and guidelines governing their design and evolution over time. This is the formal definition of architecture from TOGAF's perspective. Sorry. Then comes architecture building block. This definition, guys, you will use like a zillion times during any enterprise architectural work. Okay, so it is a constituent of the architectural model that describes a single aspect of the overall model. The architectural development method, a core of TOGAF, a step-by-step approach to develop and use an enterprise architecture, which is from phase A to phase H. Okay. In terms of architectural domain, I'll give you a very quick abbreviation to remember it. It's called BATE: business, application, data, and technology. Okay. So in my BATE, I is for data. Okay. So BAIT. So these are the 4 domains. In architecture framework, a foundation structure or a set of structures which can be used for developing a broad range of different architectures. It should contain a method for designing an information system in terms of a set of building blocks and for showing how the building blocks fit together. This is where TOGAF brings the architecture framework with the ADM. Okay. In terms of architecture framework itself, it should also contain a set of tools and provide a common vocabulary. This is what these terminologies are being discussed for, because when you would implement it, you will introduce these terminologies and you would use these definitions. Okay. It should also include a list of recommended standards and compliant products that can be used to implement and the building blocks. Architectural principles are qualitative statement of intent that should be met by the architecture, has at least a supporting rationale, and a measure of importance. Now, in terms of architecture principles, guys, this would be again specific to your organization. Okay, so from slide 8, guys, very quickly, architectural principles is a qualitative statement of intent that should be met by the architecture, has at least a supporting rationale. Now, in terms of rationale, guys, it simply translates into what is the pro and the con if this principle is not adhered to or is not addressed. Okay. In terms of architecture vision, it is a high-level aspirational view of the target architecture, a phase in the ADM which delivers understanding and definition of the architecture vision and a specific deliverable describing the architecture vision. Now, this is very important, guys, because this is where the entire ADM kicks off, or the architecture development methodology kicks off. So in terms of architecture vision, you would also have a sample from TOGAF's website. You can download it as well, but it is quite detailed. Okay, so you can choose relevant sections per your business requirements and what you feel is relevant in your prospective organizations, and you can use those sections. And architecture vision is basically trying to understand what the business objectives and goals are from this exercise, okay, and how the architecture would capture a possible target state of that capability or that solution, okay. And in terms of baseline, a baseline, as you can read from here, is also, but very simply put, it is the as-is state of the current enterprise solution or the capability. Okay, the current state, the as-is state. In terms of building block, you would use this word like a lot, guys. Okay, so building blocks are nothing but the smallest unit of that domain or that solution or capability. Okay, and you would be able to reuse this, so they have to be generic. Okay, so like building blocks can be defined at various levels of detail depending on what stage of architecture development has been reached. For instance, at an early stage, a building block can simply consist of a name or an outline description. Later on, it is decomposed into multiple supporting building blocks. Okay, and these can relate to architectures or solutions. In terms of business architecture, business strategy, governance, organizations, and key business process information, as well as the interaction between these concepts. Now, gentlemen, for business architecture, you should also note the business services and the processes. So you already would be capturing key business process information, but you should also capture the processes that deliver the business services. Okay, this is also part of business architecture. In terms of business governance, this is considered or concerned with ensuring that the business processes and policies deliver the business outcomes and adhere to relevant business regulation, not limited to and should always be considered in terms of regulatory compliances, political legal compliances, and the legal compliances stream. Okay, because it is very important that whenever you move into any solutioning, at least in today's generation, you would all understand why safe harbor law was attacked, right? Because of the Facebook's lawsuit in the US. So exactly like that. So you have to consider all the aspects for the governance. Capability, this is also a word you will hear a lot. So capability, simply put, is what I as an organization do and what I as an organization would want to do in future state. Okay, you can read the definition as well. So an ability that an organization, person, or system possesses. All right. Now moving to the next set of terminologies, concerns. Now, in terms of concerns, guys, it is very important to note. Remember the word stakeholder management. This is where it will be into. Okay, so you will try and understand what are my key stakeholders and what are those key stakeholders' key concerns. So you might also want to remember a word called Moscow, and many of you would already be familiar with Moscow methodology, wherein a must have, a should have, could have, or a would have of any capability or solution building. So what are the concerns that I must address? What are the concerns that I can do away with? Okay, this kind of thing. I'm giving you some tricks as well, guys. So I'm trying to mix it up. Okay. So in terms of constraints, now these constraints are something that you as an architect will have to really understand and play with it. You cannot challenge these constraints, because at times what happens is, or not at times, it always happens such that you will not have complete freedom of that you can do everything in a project, right? So an external factors, in terms of for all the gentlemen out here who have been into business intelligence and data analytics or big data, right? You understand that for any solution or a capability that you build, you first have to harmonize the data, right? And this is where the constraint lies. That first you have to start with harmonizing it, as in try to resolve that constraint, then move into architecting a dream. Okay, so that is the constraint. Okay, in terms of data architecture, the structure of an organization's logical and physical data assets and data management resources are deliverable. So like we discussed, guys, in the TOGAF introduction as well, that you will also create, or you will be creating deliverables as part of every ATM phase, okay, from phase A to H. So these are the deliverables that are contractually specified, okay. And if you're an external facing consultant working with consultancy firms, you would always have a statement of architecture work, okay, that you will sign, and as part of that you will address or you will enlist different types of deliverables and the timeline as well, exactly like a project plan. Okay, so this is where you will provide those contractually specified documents. Now, the definition of enterprise as per TOGAF is the highest level of description of an organization and typically covers all missions and functions. An enterprise will often span multiple organizations. Okay? The foundation architecture is an architecture of generic services and functions that provide a foundation on which more specific architectures and architectural components can be built. Now, in terms of the foundation architecture, like I mentioned, guys, like there are two, which is one of which you already saw, IIIRM, the Information Infrastructure Reference Model. And then there is a technology or technical reference model. And very quickly, just to show off, okay, this technical reference model, now you understand that TOGAF also might have taken some already existing knowledge. So yes, there is a Federal Enterprise Architecture Framework and a Department of Defense Architecture Framework that helped TOGAF as a body of knowledge to create its technical reference model. You can Google it as well. Okay, so you'll find this information just in case if you're really wanting to go deep. Okay, now in terms of key definitions, again, we continue with the gap. Now a gap is quite important when you would do from a baseline or a current as if to a target state. Okay, and this gap will actually translate into opportunities and solutions, and you would start creating migration plan around how this gap will be filled. So a statement of difference between two states used in the context of gap analysis, where the difference between the baseline and target is identified. Okay. Now in terms of governance, this is simply put the discipline of monitoring, manage, and steering a business to deliver the business outcome requirement. But trust me, it is more complex than this. This is the toughest part, guys. Okay, you guys will be very good at creating stuff. You guys will be very good at doing your own job. But governance is actually beyond your job. It is something that you will have to enforce. It is something that you will have to oversee on day in and day out basis. Okay, to see that your vision translation of business is actually being implemented in the right way as it was expected to be. Okay. What is the definition of information? So any communication or representation of facts, data, or opinions in any medium or form, including textual, numerical, graphical, cartographic, which is maps, narrative, or audiovisual forms. Information technology, the life cycle management of information and related technology used by an organization, a term commonly assigned to a department within an organization, tasked with provisioning some or all the domains. Alternate names commonly adopted include information services, information management, etc. Logical. Guys, there will be three terms: logical, physical, and conceptual. So keep an eye on these, because these will be used primarily during all your architecture development methodology work for business, information technology, and information systems as well. So you might not be required by your organization to always create a particular type of model or a view, but ideally a logical model is expected. Okay, so logical is something, an implementation independent definition of the architecture, often grouping related physical entities according to their purpose and structure. Okay, for example, the products from multiple infrastructure software vendors can be logically grouped as Java application server platforms. Okay, this is an example. Metadata is about so metadata is data about data of any sort in any media that describes characters. So I believe that most of us here would be also defining metadata as the definition of data, or the data about the data, right? This is the simplest, I think. Meta model, a model that describes how and with what the architecture will be described in a structured way. So let me put it in a much more simpler things for you. So meta model is the model of models. Okay, so any model that you would create, you will have entities there, you would have objects there, you would have a connection to the other domains. So the rule or the model that will describe on how an entity is related to another and what is that arrow that you will use or the flow that you will use is the meta model. So meta model can be specific to every domain. Okay, so for a business architecture, you can have a meta model describing that service will connect to a business process. The business process will connect to a business function. The business function will connect to a department. Okay, and this will have is related to relation. Okay, so this is a meta model that you have created now for business architecture. So now when you would actually create a model, you would actually name, or you would write the name of that business service. So let's say claiming invoice is the business service. The process will be, let's say, generating business invoices or claims invoices, right? The functions could be tax reconciliation, right? So like this, okay? Now method. A method is defined as a repeatable approach to address a particular type of problem. And exactly to that, methodology is how you would continuously address a similar kind of problem. Okay. Now, methodology is defined as a repeatable series of steps to address a particular type of problem, which typically centers on a defined process, but may also include definition of content. Now, the next terminology is model. Model and modeling again would be used quite a lot of times, but model is something that you really need to differentiate from views, guys. Okay, so a model is a representation of subject of interest. It provides a smaller scale, simplified or abstract representation of the subject matter. A model is constructed as a means to an end. In the context of enterprise architecture, the subject matter is a whole or part of the enterprise, and at the end is the ability to construct views that address the concerns of particular stakeholder, that is their viewpoints in relation to the subject matter. Very boring. Simply put, a model is nothing but how you would represent a particular structure of a business, data information, or technology. So how everything connects with each other is that model. Okay, a modeling is how you will do it. So what is the notation you will take? Like for example, if you're putting UML, which is Unified Modeling Language 2.0, which all our Java folks or gentlemen here would be using. Okay, so what modeling technique would you apply, and then you would create a model. Okay, this is how these two terms are related. Objective is a time-bounded milestone for an organization used to demonstrate progress towards a goal. Okay, so increase capacity utilization by 30% by the end of 2009 to support the planned increase in market share is one of the examples. Important thing to note about objective is that it should be clear. It should have numbers so that you can measure that objective, and it should have an end game. It should have an end date to it, guys. Okay, I tell you this because when you would get certified and you would start implementing TOGAF, okay, or enterprise architecture in your organizations with TOGAF, you would use tools, okay, to implement methodology, and you would create artifacts and you would create views and diagrams. At that time, you would need to create ABBs, or architecture building blocks, as we read in one of the terminologies. Now, these building blocks, one of the building blocks in business architecture is business objective. To define that business objective in a clear, crisp manner so that you can create roadmaps, you would need these three elements. You would need by when is your objective you would want to achieve, how will you measure the objective, and what is the name of the objective, what is the definition of the objective, and so on. So try to always think like a math student when you are trying to put these terms in place. Okay, now physical description of a real world entity, like instead of logical, this is the physical description. Physical elements in enterprise architecture may still be considerably abstracted from solution architecture. Now, you see, guys, this is exactly what I was mentioning when a gentleman asked me about solution security, right? So even if we go at a deeper dive, we will not discuss about Kerberos or LDAP. We will always discuss it at an abstract level from an enterprise architecture's perspective. Okay, great. In terms of reference models, a reference model is an abstract framework. So exactly the term reference and what it means is that it is like, let's say, how would I want to build my house? I would want to build my house as Vish's house. Okay, so Vish's house here becomes the reference model. Okay, so like the technology reference model of TOGAF provides you with the fundamentals that, okay, this is how the square should look like, this is how the wall is, this is how the sitting area should be. So you would pick that, but of course you will not want to copy Vish's house, right? That will be intellectual property. So you would want to create your own house, but you might want to take the model as a reference. Okay, great. Next, very quickly, guys, are we going good? Do you guys have any questions? Explain business architecture once more. Sure, Sujit, I'll do that. Possible to provide some kind of number of each rather than memorizing them. Okay, very quickly, guys, you guys don't have to memorize this. See, Einstein said that you don't need to know answers of every question. You just need to know how to find it. You just need to know to find it. That's it. Okay, so even if I'm going through one by one to them, you would still be able to remember a part of it. The objective is not to memorize it. The objective is to understand it. Okay, and then whenever you guys have time, you guys can always go ahead and at your own comfort look through these same decks and try and go through them. Okay, but let me take this question very quickly in terms of business architecture, Shubhajit, right? Okay, so Shubhajit, is it okay as soon as we complete, let's say, another 5 slides, we'll take a break and then I'll come back to this question. Is it okay? Okay, in the break, I'll just take that question real quick for you. Sure, sure. Yeah, exactly. See, guys, I'm trying to relate it to the examples that I can when you would be working on projects. Like, for example, for repository, so like a system that manages all of the data of an enterprise, including data and processes. So you will have an enterprise architecture tool, okay, that you will have to implement. So when I say have to, it does not require to. You can also maintain it on Microsoft Excel, like you can put all the terms, their definition, who owns that particular service or the architecture, So, but still there is a practice that you would normally have a tool for enterprise architecture like Spark systems, right? 12.0. You might also have, let's say tools like Provision, tools like Aris, tools like iServer, tools like Troops, right? So these tools will have, so repository is nothing but the database of all the objects or the building blocks or the documents that you would create. So they would be housed in one repository or the database. Okay, so the data in the repository is much more extensive than in a data dictionary, because the repository is not just data dictionary, but it is your repository for enterprise architectural work. Okay, it will have deliverables, and again, the reason or the benefit of using a repository is reuse. Okay, so that you can reuse certain documents from there, like if you're creating another version of the same application, right? So you can pick the same building blocks and restructure them, showing that, okay, today we have 4 systems of information for these 2 applications. Tomorrow, in about 2 years of time, we will use only one system of records for both the applications. So these building blocks or these models or these diagrams you can reuse from the repository. Okay, this is what it means. Okay, now in terms of requirements, it is a quantitative statement of business needs, and that must be met by particular architecture or work package. In terms of solution architecture, this in terms of TOGAF is a description of a discrete and focused business operation or activity on how information service and IT supports that operation. So I was explaining repository. So guys, as a practice, what I'll do is that I'll not read the slide, but I'll try to explain the keyword, okay, or the terminology. Would that be okay with you guys, like Siddesh mentioned? So for each terminology, I'll try to relate it with a project, okay, instead of explaining it, because you guys will be able to read it any which ways. Perfect. Thanks, Mehul, Siddesh, Rajesh. I'm going to do that exactly now. So now, in terms of repository, this term simply put means, say for example, you're designing a particular application. So whatever you need to design it in terms of the document, the specification, the requirements will all be part of the repository. Okay, so every block of information you can reuse from a repository. So a repository is your live working database of information which will be used for creating any architectural deliverable or work product, so to speak. Okay, so this is a repository, and primarily a repository is part of a tool. So whatever enterprise architecture tool you would have in your organization, mostly organizations have Aris or they have Sparks, so organizations which are very much into application architecture and solution architecture, they normally prefer Sparks 12.0, and organizations which have a need for business architecture and strategic architectures and the entire gamut of domains, they would prefer Aris as a tool. Okay, so again, it is a choice that the organization makes and the enterprise architecture team advises or suggests, but then yes, that is a tool of which repository is a part. And in case there is no tool, still you would have a SharePoint. So SharePoint is as good as any other repository. You would have different documents, you have a I would say a folder structure in there. So you can make SharePoint as a, for the time being, kind of a repository. Okay. Now, in terms of requirement, can you also know the tools that we? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of tools, like I mentioned, Siddesh, we have tools like Sparks 12.0, iServer, which is from Orbis Software. Then we have Eris, which is now Software AG's set of tools. So we also have Provision from OpenText Group. We also have Troops. We also have Mega. There is a huge list. You can go to Gartner's Enterprise Architecture tool, and they will show you the leading vendors and stuff. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Rajesh, for that. Okay. So in terms of the requirements are nothing but for any particular design or any particular application that you're building or any capability that you're putting together, the requirement is exactly what is required out of or at the end stage of that particular development. Okay, so it is the functional, non-functional. It could also be based on domain, so based out of business requirements. It could also be your software requirements. So the requirement is nothing but that quantitative statement. Okay, now in terms of solution architecture, here it is a bit different because this is not a typical solution design that people perceive solution architecture as. So we are not designing a solution, we are architecting the solution in this case. So let's say, for example, we want to have a CRM. Okay, so in a customer relationship management, we will try and create the solution architecture of it. So in a solution architecture, we will show how different systems would interact with it, okay, in terms of what the requirements out of the CRM is. We will try and create a high-level view or a picture of that requirement, okay, and then we will translate it into a CRM model or a view that this is the solution architecture of a CRM. These are the services that the CRM is expected to deliver. These are the functional requirements that the CRM should be able to do it, and then the implementation team would design the CRM to meet the architecture. Okay, this is how it translates into. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now going to the next slide, in terms of solution building block, a solution building block, simply put, is the actual realization of an architecture building block. So let me give you an example. So in an architecture building block, you might capture business service, or let's say security. Okay, security is an architecture building block. The actual implementation of security, when you would be doing it, could be physical security, could be cyber security, could be the name of the technology that you would be implementing the solution with. Okay, so this is a solution building block. Okay, like it is mentioned here as well, like a commercial off-the-shelf package just for implementing that particular solution. Okay, stakeholders, simply put, is anyone and everyone who is interested in your project, who has a concern and wants the architect to implement a solution that would get rid of that constraint or the concern. Okay, a strategic architecture is part of the business architecture, wherein when you would create an architecture vision document as part of your deliverables, you will have strategic architecture showing what the business strategy is, what is the goal that the strategy is wanting to drive, what is the mission, how would you get there, you know. So these kind of things would be covered in the strategic architecture. Okay, this is more in terms of a long-term or an eagle's eye view of, let's say, 3 years, 4 years down the lane. Okay, target architecture, as the word states, it is the end state of where we would want to be for this capability or for this solution. Giving you an example would be, let's say today we have, let's say, 5 different systems. We have 2 different financial applications that access person information from system A. It accesses addresses from, you know, table C, D, and particular system B. You know, but at an end state, I would want one single data warehouse where all my financial applications should be able to drive or pull data from. Okay, this is my target state, and for this to be enabled, we would create a target architecture. Okay. Great. Okay. Now, in terms of key definitions, again, going to the next one is technology architecture. This is more in terms of what my systems are, how are they layered today, what kind of technologies are used to deliver, let's say cloud, let's say private, personal, So you will try and capture all the different IT infrastructures, middleware requirements, networks, communication, and not just limited to this. Okay, you might also want to capture security standards and everything. So you might also capture the governance layers, and you also might have technologies which are stacked or packaged technologies, like you might have Oracle as one of the packaged technologies for Oracle Identity Management System. So similar to that, but you will try and capture the holistic view of your technology stack. Okay, transition architecture, on the other hand, is more in terms of, remember the gap that we discussed? So the gap is, what do we need to achieve a target state, right? A transition architecture is exactly trying to cover this gap. Okay, here you remember portfolio, wherein we will find out opportunities and solutions. So there might be a reason wherein you have financial systems pulling out 5 databases, and you suddenly have 2 different projects in 2 different business lines, which is, let me put an example. So let's say there are 2 different mobile applications which are doing exactly what a fraud analytics system should do. Okay, and then there is a parallel exercise wherein you're trying to harmonize all the data in your enterprise. Now, as an enterprise architect, when it comes to you as part of the governance, that okay, we are trying to build this, can you see what is the architecture all about? Are we doing it right? You might just tell them that why are these 2 projects or these 2 portfolios doing a work that actually should be done by the fraud and analytics team, So this particular project will become a part of the program. So again, in terms of transition architecture, guys, as an enterprise architect, you would save a lot of money for the organization in identifying duplicate projects, duplicate initiatives, duplicate pieces of work. Okay, so this is also one of the reasons that you see in transition architecture that we have into managed portfolios and programs. So you would play a critical role in saving a lot of money and in these kind of activities. Okay, now do we have any questions? No. Okay, so in terms of views and viewpoints, now in terms of a view and a viewpoint, very simply put, so let's say Siddhesh, for you, okay, so let's say Siddhesh is one of the stakeholders and he is into technology and he wants to see only what are the, let's say, architecture building blocks, or what are the things that I need for my mobile applications design. Okay, so I want an architecture for my mobile application. Okay, so this is Siddhesh's viewpoint, because he's a technology guy. His viewpoint is that I want to see only this kind of models or this kind of views. Now the view is what you will provide Siddhesh. So you will not provide Siddhesh with all the business processes, the the services that are interacting with each other. You would provide a view which is tailored to a stakeholder, Siddhesh, who is an IT developer, let's say, for example, to show him his view. Okay, so this is the difference between viewpoint and view. Okay, perfect. All right, going to the next slide, guys. This is something that you should like memorize. Okay, this should always be, so this will be your best image after enterprise architecture TOGAF training. This, if you remember this after the entire course and everything, it's amazing. Okay, so this is the architecture framework of TOGAF. It starts with preliminary phase, goes to architecture, vision, business, information, technology, opportunity, migration, governance, change, and requirement management is at the core of it, which you would always revisit. Okay. Now, just as an understanding of how the open group works, it is an architecture forum. Okay, it is not an organization like TCS or any other organization as such. It is more of forum. So it is developed, maintained, and updated based on feedback and inputs from the forum. Okay, and it also discusses about why a framework, what is the certification summary. Okay, now the open group, as I said, that it is an architecture forum. It tries and advocates why enterprise architecture is needed, why a framework is needed, and what kind of things go into TOGAF 9 certification, and why it is one of the reasons more widely expected and accepted. So any questions do we have? Okay, no. All right. So in terms of open group, as I enlisted earlier, is that it is an international vendor and technology neutral consortium that organizations rely on to lead the development of IT standards and certification. Okay. So it is a consortium, guys. It is not just one person dictating it. It is a group of person, and again, it takes feedbacks from the forum, and again, it has widespread branches, and like I said, it has almost, it's in India as well, in Bangalore, it's in US, everywhere. Okay, it also provides guidance and open environment to enable interoperability and vendor neutrality. It does not support a particular vendor or a particular notation or a particular standard. Okay, it tries to build more of a generic foundation so that it is easier to implement and modularize into your organization. Okay, and again, membership is open to all enterprises of all size anywhere in the world. Okay, the vision of TOGAF as a group is boundaryless information flow. Okay, now just to give you a brief around what their mission is. So again, there are a lot of things here that you can read. Let me. Do you want me to go through this slide, or do you want me to skip it to more relevant one? So again, if you can read, it is more around mission of the open group, which is to drive the boundaryless information flow, which is again, boundaryless here does not mean that you can go anywhere and do anything. It is more around achieving interoperability between information systems and how it works. Okay, it also provides as a mission, that offering a comprehensive set of services to enhance the operational efficiency of the consortia. Okay, developing and operating the industry's premier certification and service, encouraging the procurement of certified products as well. Okay, one of the missions. Now, in terms of boundaryless information, like I said, it is not about just in sense of that there is no constraint. It talks about though how to enable it. You can enable it through enterprise architecture, through cloud computing, interoperability, portability of applications, real-time and embedded systems. Again, guys, for each of these subject areas, there are forums on TOGAF that you can collaborate and share your ideas. Okay, and I would definitely suggest for each one of you that go to TOGAF's website, find out your relevant interest areas and join groups. You would learn a lot around what is happening around those. Okay. Okay. Next, we will discuss about the activities that they are involved in, which is around business architecture, cloud computing, quantum lifecycle. That they are also into UDEF, which is Universal Data Element Framework. So they are now developing an ODEF framework as well, which I think in about a couple of years they should already have a certification available for it. Then they're also discussing about Trusted Technology Forum Jericho. Then they have open CA work groups, which is Certified Architects work groups. Then they also have Certified Information Technology Services work group. Okay, so there are many activities that they are involved in. Then architecture, Archimate is one of the languages that they are involved in. They're also into Enterprise Management Platform, which is their latest release is Platform 3.0 that they are discussing, Open Platform 3.0. Okay, so these are some of the activities. Okay, again, if you can read here, you would find that each forum is effectively an autonomous consortium operating within the open group. Okay, so each forum has its individualistic identity, and hence any framework that comes, it is vendor neutral. It is industry neutral. It just has a generic guideline and you can use it per your requirement. Okay. Now, okay. Now, in terms of how members work, guys, like I said, that you can go ahead and have emails, web conferences. Again, mostly they are virtual, but you can be an active participant with TOGAF any and at any time. Okay. And again, you can have local member meetings, and by default, when you get certified, you get a membership with Association of Enterprise Architects, AEA, and you can also put in a request for a local chapter. So if in your region, if you don't have an AEA office, you can, with a couple of other architects, if you have in the region, and if you want to have a local office, yes, they will help you, and you can file an application for that. Okay. Now, why customers join? Like as of now, I think the platinum members are Philips, IBM, Fujitsu. Okay. So they build relationship with peers. They talk to suppliers in a non-selling environment and can influence the priorities being addressed by the industry as a whole. Okay. And they also have an early access to the solutions being developed to address the urgent issues. You can also track forums, work groups, and projects. Okay. Now, if you see here in this particular slide, any questions thus far? No? Okay. Any questions, guys, thus far that you guys would want me to address? Because these are just generic ones. You can also find it any which ways. Okay. Now, in terms of the open group scorecard, if you see, there are professional standards, there are methodology standards, and then there are software standards. Okay. Now, OpenSITS is nothing but certified information technology skills, architecture knowledge, which is the professional services like what we are trying to deliver. And when you are certified, this is what you will do. Okay. You will also do OpenCA. You will also do professional association with bodies. Then in methodology, you are already creating enterprise architecture, security, and so on. You would also be, in terms of software, driving portability, manageability, interoperability, and security requirements. Okay, so this is what a general, I would say, scorecard of Open Group looks like. And when you are certified, you would be intended to address these measures in the scorecard, so to speak. Okay. Rajesh says the slides in your PPT are very dry. Going through TOGAF website, there is a lot of material and it is very difficult to go through all of those. Please, can you suggest a few of the PDF from the website that we can take printouts? Unfortunately, Rajesh, here's the thing. There are no PDFs, man, in either TOGAF's website or anywhere else per se. But yes, if I see that you're more inclined towards getting it faster and trying to apply it for a certification. What I'll do is that at the end of today's session, I'll try and share some of the links that you can take mock classes on, like mock tests. And again, since we are constrained with the the entire quizzes and the case studies, as in at least here at Edureka, but still, if you're interested, you can try hands-on, like practical mock tests and stuff, if that is okay with you. Okay, so that you will immediately know what to learn, and what to focus on. I think that would help you to get that certification that you're more inclined towards, I believe. Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. In terms of architecture forum, again, guys, as I mentioned, it has a mission that is, the open group boundaryless information flow for and between enterprises, and the programs are all focused on architectural aspects around broad and deep leadership in the EA community itself, validating, publishing, and fostering and maintaining best practices, and of course, there are initiating and managing programs and projects to support these activities. Okay. Now, in terms of stakeholders and value, again, like as any other TOGAF stakeholder, you would have customer architects, which will look for reduced time, cost, and risk. The tool vendors are looking for bigger market share because of the peers are all in general management categories and stuff, right? Okay. More than, okay, Rajesh says more than test. Is there any book? Yes, Rajesh, there is a book, but unfortunately it is much more detailed than actually uh, the website. Okay, it is TOGAF 9.1 book, and in the module 1's presentation you will find a link for that book as well. Okay, so yeah, you can purchase it online and from TOGAF's website, and you can read it. It's a hardcover book, and you can also download it as a PDF. But like I said, it is a book. It is not like a crisper version of some chapters. Okay, okay. In terms of why enterprise architecture, guys, this is, I think, one of the best slides, okay, which is not that boring, is because enterprise is a collection of organization that shares a common set of goals, okay, and this is the reason that why an architecture is needed. So an architecture is the fundamental organization of something embodied in its components, the relationship to each other and the environment, the principles governing its design and evolution. Okay, so this is the reason that enterprise architecture is needed. Okay, that is you try and show, and you can try and trace that one business service with BS 112.0, okay, can be traced all the way down to a technology, to a server, and that server technology. So if you remove that server, you would know that that business service 112.0 is going to get impacted or is connected to the server. So this is the reason architecture is that important. Okay. Now, is your training sufficient for exam? Well, Rajesh, I believe so, that this training should be sufficient for the exam, but again, it depends upon how much you take home from this training and how much you practice, and trying to crack the case studies and cracking the quizzes. Okay, because that is how you would develop it. So I can only teach the theory and try to show you the practical or the real life examples of it, but the application, again, like I said, TOGAF is architect independent. So if Vish is a TOGAF certified, I might be applying it in a different way. You would take it in a different way and apply it in your context areas differently. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So going next, what is enterprise architecture? Very, very debatable, and there are many people with many definitions. Okay. But let's stick to this one. So number one is from MIT. So the organizing logic for business processes and IT infrastructure reflecting the integration and standardization requirements of the firm's operating model. Okay. And the second one is from searchcio.com, which is a conceptual blueprint that defines the structure and operation of an organization. The intent of an enterprise architecture is to determine how an organization can most effectively achieve its current and future objectives. Okay. Now, very simply put, guys, see, enterprise architecture tries to understand what would my business need today to deliver the best customer experience or the best customer satisfaction to the enterprise itself. So again, when I say customer, so for me, my customers are you, right? For you, your customer is your immediate boss, right? Or your immediate project manager or whosoever, right? So customer, so you should always treat it in such a way, right? An enterprise architect would always try and address on what would I bring to the table that would connect my business offerings to those technologies, and can I trace them all back together? If I can, then I know that which piece of information or which piece of puzzle when put together solves the puzzle. Okay, so this is how and what you should think of yourself as an architect. Okay. Okay. Going to the next slide, guys. These are the architecture types. Like I said, BATE, which is business, application, information and technology. Okay, so remember this acronym that I put together is BAIT. So for business architecture, you would discuss about business processes, business services, the organization structure, the people, which is again, people here are both your computer roles and your human roles. So there are many things that a system does. Okay, so again, that is also people, right? Okay, and you would also have applications or data roles, right? Now, in terms of, okay, any questions, guys, here? Just very real quick. I think it is going a bit drag, but still, do you have any questions here? Do you want to take a 5 minutes breather? I know it's more of theory here. So, any questions here? You guys want to take a break? A 5-minute break we can afford, because then we will continue till the end of the session today. Okay, so let's do this, guys. Let's take a 5-minute breather and let's go ahead and take questions now. Okay, do we have positions for these? So guys, this is a 5 minutes break. We'll be back by 10:35 Indian time. Okay, okay, do we have positions for these? Siddhesh, do you mean like business architect? Yes, of course, of course. Okay, so yes, Siddhesh, we do have roles like for business, we'll have business architect. Again, not just architect, but for business, you will also find business analyst. You'll also have roles like process analyst. You'll also have roles like process engineers. In a BPM, Business Process Management Center of Excellence, you'll find these roles which will provide input to the enterprise architects as well. Does that help? Perfect. Okay. Any other question, guys? Is it that all they report to enterprise architect? Not necessarily. Okay, let me unmute you, Siddhesh, very quickly. Okay, Siddhesh, quickly ask your questions. You go on this.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, so my question is like, do we have roles like business architect? I know of one role which is technology architect, technical architect that we have, data architects that we have. I'm not sure if there exists any business architect, applications architect as well. That is the first question. And second is that there is a guy called as enterprise architect who sits on top of this and gets information from all these 4 architect role. And apart from that, what all roles can we consider in the architecture stream?
Okay, so thank you, Siddhesh. Okay, so really quickly, Siddhesh, see, ideally an enterprise architecture office, like you mentioned, right? So it will have an organization structure of its own, which reports into maybe the governance board, or it will report into a CIO or a CTO, okay? It depends upon the type of organization or the preference, okay? But yes, there would be roles like security. So again, so you could have, I try and create an organization structure within an enterprise architecture office in 3 different ways, okay? I try and put strategic roles, I try and put operational roles, and then I try and put some people-oriented roles, okay? I'll tell you why. So let's say for a strategic role, I'll put business architect. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Subhajit, just a second. I'll just answer Siddhesh and you'll also get this answer. So let's say in a strategic role, you will have a business architect, okay? A business architect and an enterprise architect, okay? A business architect might report into an enterprise architect, and a solution architect might also report into a, let's say, enterprise architect. You can also have common architects, or let's say operational architects, such as integration architects, security architects, data architects. Why? Because these guys will be more consumed into project level. Okay, like for example, when you will be doing data warehousing projects, your data architects will play a huge role, right? Their time and utilization will be very high. You understand the concept now between the roles? So you have to play around these factors as well when you are trying to create roles or you want to identify certain roles. Does this help?
Okay, so is it based on the project basis, like what all, or what is there any general guidelines that okay, we need to have these roles, And apart from that, we can play with some other roles, like how you said. So, is there a specific guide?
So there is no specific guidelines. There are best practices. Let me put it this way. So like I said, so I follow this now because nowadays I believe that there is a huge trend that you need to segregate roles into more strategic, operational, and people support, because it makes life easier and it makes your office function better. Okay. Otherwise, in general, you can have enterprise architect, business architect, solution architect, data architect, and that's it. And then you can have different common architect roles. And to answer Shubhajit's question, exactly, that in a business process management, you are doing 80% of a business architect's work already, just that you don't see the whole gamut or the whole end-to-end view from business process to a technology layer, which a business architect can enable. Okay, and he or she would look more in terms of services and how a business goal or an objective is connected, and how that business goal objective is going to impact a particular business process or service. Do I need to increase the baseline, or do I need to achieve a target state? Do I need to put in a new capability in place? Such kind of things. Okay.
So, we just wish to ask you that are we going to consider all this? For example, if we speak about business architect, then what are the aspects of business architects? What are the things that we need to consider? What are the roles and responsibilities? Are we going to look into all this going ahead, or what exactly we are going to look into?
Yeah, so we will discuss each phase in the ADM in a bit detail, but I'm not sure we will go that deep in terms, but I'll try and cover your questions at the time if you want.
Okay, okay. It would be really great if you could take an example and explain all these phases.
Yeah, any which way, Siddesh, it is too early for us. We are any which way discussing at a very high, broad level on boring topics of TOGAF. When we will move into the ADM phase, I believe it will become more interesting, because there we will discuss more real life, which will impact each one of you actually. Okay, wherein you will actually see the implementation of enterprise architecture skills, or let's say TOGAF for that matter.
Okay, okay. No worries, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. But your question for now is answered, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, man. Okay. Do we have any other questions, guys? No? Perfect. Okay. So let me get back to the slide real quick, and let's so guys, this will now be a complete haul, and we will probably try to finish this particular module so that we are on track. And yes, and when we are towards the end of today's session, I'll try and find a way around on how we can interact better rather than this question answer, because I understand this topic requires more of a conversation. Okay, so okay, so taking that as a feedback, I am now going back to the slide. And going back to why enterprise architecture. So guys, like the question that Siddesh or Shubhajit has answered or asked me, and like Rajesh here as well asked. So there is a lot of confusion, guys, okay, around what an enterprise architect actually does. Okay, now ideally it is very poorly understood. There is not responsive, and enterprise architecture is not responsive to change, and it requires a lot of innovation in information technology, and it is focused on system maintenance. This is not the case. Okay, an enterprise architecture is completely different. Okay, see, there are two key reasons why you need an enterprise architecture: critical to business survival and success. So it's not just about tomorrow or today. It is both important for today and tomorrow. Okay, and it enables managed innovation within the enterprise. Okay, remember that one of the phases is opportunities and solutions, and that is where innovation triggers, guys. Okay, that is where an enterprise architect suggests that, oh wow, this is something that we can do. Let's build a single customer view. Let's build a solution which is mobile oriented. Let's go mobile, let's go digital. These kind of things or innovations in enterprise architecture practitioner will bring to the table. Okay, now pressure to develop enterprise architecture. Now these are actual regulatory pressures, guys. Okay, this is why one of the reasons that TOGAF is so widely accepted now. Now, laws and regulations. Klinger-Cohen Act, which is basically nothing but it discusses about the life cycle of information technology assets. What information assets were developed, how are they being maintained, how will you dispose them? This is what Klinger-Cohen Act discusses. Again, you can Google it and you will find these. I'm telling you in crisp. Okay, then UE directives on the award of public contracts. Okay, this is where vendor neutrality comes into picture. This is where solutions comes into picture. Sarbanes-Oxley, I think majority of us are familiar with, right, in terms of financial transparency. So when you build systems of records, when you build architecture that conforms to such practices, you would require certain methodologies that are so general that you can adopt, which are so modular that you can easily encompass and you can create your own architecture. Okay, it is more extended towards enterprises, not just technologies. Okay, more cooperative IT operations, like Suresh or I think somebody asked, ITIL and TOGAF, is there a match? It's an absolute match. If they are married together, I'll tell you how at later stage. Greater publicity to failures. Okay, increase in litigation. Okay, audit requirements. Okay, so these are the things that pushes enterprise architecture to organizations, and organizations have to, they don't have a choice to have an enterprise architecture in place. Unfortunately, they might call it solution architecture, they might call it application architecture, but at the end of the day, they are following some kind of architecture. Okay, now business benefits is it helps an organization achieve its business strategy, faster time to market for new innovations and capabilities, because you will try and decrease a lot of redundant projects, a lot of duplicate effort. Okay, it's more consistent business processes and information across business units. You would also have more reliability, security, less risk, because you would already have governance in place. You will have an enterprise architecture review board as part of the practice. Okay, you will have more efficient business operations. You will have so much control over the risks and the constraints, and the understanding would be so much clear for your target state that you can manage a lot of moving components. Okay. Now, in terms of, do we have any questions here now? No. Okay. Okay. The importance of governance, like I stated earlier as well, guys, that the enterprise architecture is only as good as the decision-making framework that is established around it, which is the governance. So we might be very, very good architects, but if we do not govern our architecture that we have placed or advised, it will become a house of cards. Okay? We will fail. This is one of the reasons that in many organizations, enterprise architecture teams don't get a lot of traction or value as they are supposed to, because they did not spend a lot of time enforcing the governance framework that they might have put together. Okay, so this could be placed through manual processes, or it could be placed through systems of technologies. Like I said, SharePoint could be a very, very good place for version control, for maintaining artifacts, and can play a very good role in governance. Okay, you can create a workflow there, and you can ensure that no changes to architectural documents can take place without approval of person X. Okay, he could be the architect of that domain, for example. Now, governance framework depends on clear authority structure, exactly like I just was discussing about workflow. So you can create a hierarchy structure that for any project at a project level, the project manager would need to approach person X from the architecture team if it is business architecture, person B in case it is information architecture, and so on, and the right participants. Okay. Now this is a simple diagram to show an example of governance. Again, you can tailor it as per your organization's need. So you will have a CIO, CTO sitting on top for develop. So when you will be developing and on an ongoing basis, any architecture, you will have a chief architect. You will have an architecture board, which will be the reviewing body for all the work. You will have an implement box, wherein you will have the programs or the project and the implementation project, and the deploy will be service management teams. And the domain architects are basically nothing but all the different roles that I was talking with Siddesh around, that you will have the domain architects playing it with the enterprise architect and taking approval for every architectural or for, let's say, the kind of approvals needed that require architecture board to be part of. And as part of enterprise continuum, you'll have architectural diagrams, you'll have process diagrams, you'll have solution diagrams, you'll have the agreements in place, regulatory requirements, and so on. Okay, so this is a general structure of a governance body. Okay, now what do you mean by governance? Okay, so it basically is the way in which decisions are made, clear accountability or framework that I don't know how many of you follow it, but you should definitely, if you're not as of now, is the RACI, wherein you clearly identify for each task or each process or each activity that you perform, who is responsible, who is accountable, who is involved, and who is consulted. Okay, and at least I have been doing it for my entire career for any project. Okay, now any questions thus far? Architecture. Okay, I have a question from Mehul. Architecture board is team in organization? Yes, Mehul, to answer that question, it is a team, but the architecture board will comprise of stakeholders who have a decision-making power and wherein each business is fairly represented by its business representative, and it should have a bit of architectural understanding as well. Okay, so it will be a mixture of people from different teams. It will not be one business representing that team. Okay, does that help? Okay, so going towards why a framework. So what is an architecture framework? As per definition, it is a conceptual structure used to develop, implement, and sustain an enterprise architecture. Okay, and it should describe a method for designing target state of the enterprise in terms of a set of building blocks and for showing how the building blocks fit together. Okay, now simply put, an architecture framework is more around what is it that you will be developing, how will that work be used, and when used, what all processes should I use it in? How will it help in creating an end result? Okay, this is what an architecture framework guides you to. Okay. Now, do we have any questions? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. So now, in terms of the value of a framework, as I was discussing about it, it is a codified common sense. Okay, but a systematic one. It provides a practical starting point for any architecture project, contains a baseline set of resources to use. Again, guys, remember, you would, for the first time, when you would be doing an enterprise architecture project, you would develop the framework inside the organization by taking TOGAF as a reference. But over time, as you build more and more deliverables or work products, you would create your own repository to reuse artifacts, reuse objects, views, models, and semantics. Okay, so this is something that I would really want you to focus on. The TOGAF would be your starting point, but in about 3 years or 4 years, you will have so much of documents that you can create your own framework in terms, okay, which you can tweak it as well. Okay, now this is the enterprise architecture development method from TOGAF. Now, as you can see, each phase has a particular deliverable or objective behind it. Okay, so in terms of preliminary, you discuss about vendors, tools, and technology neutral open standard. You understand what the stakeholder means. Then you move on to architecture vision. So here you try to avoid reinventing the wheel. You try and identify what the business wants. Is there an existing work that is happening? Is there something that already can be placed to meet this vision. If not, then you begin with business architecture. You try and find business and IT alignment. And in terms of information systems architecture, you try and take industry references, and then you also try and identify what is the different architecture flows between businesses, information systems, applications, and the technologies. In technology architecture, you would possibly participate in evolution of the framework, but not limited to this. You would also in technology architecture try and identify what are the technologies I use today, how those technologies are enabling my business processes, how those business processes are or can be made better to meet the target state, and so on and so forth. Okay, here you might also now be aware that there are many package solutions. So yes, use them to cover certain architecture building blocks, which when we will come to this phase, I'll discuss more in detail. Okay, again, in E, opportunities and solution, you will find what are the kind of things that you would want to do. Okay, how can you improve the state of the enterprise? So this is where you would find these suggestions. Okay, again, ADM is available under a free perpetual license. There is no cost to it. It is free of cost, tailored to meet an organization's industry needs, widely adopted in the market, complementary to and not competing with other frameworks. Okay, like I said, guys, so say A, B, and C phases. Okay, it is not necessarily that you have to do C after B. Okay, please try and keep this as a thumb rule, guys. If somebody says it is absolutely wrong, you don't have to actually do A, then B, then C, then D, then E. There could be a stage. Let me give you an example. So let's say, for example, your organization is into Microsoft products. Okay. Now suddenly you realize that Microsoft, not suddenly realize, you just came to know that Microsoft acquired LinkedIn. Okay. Now there is a goal of your HR department that we would want to bring in better talent. Okay. But do you really want to go through information systems architecture? Do you really want to go through technology architecture? No, you wouldn't. You would directly go from opportunities and solution, go to phase A and discuss phase B, right? So this is how it happens. Okay, you don't actually have to go step by step. It depends upon the context of the problem at hand. Okay, what is the stakeholder's concern that you want to solve? Okay, so ADM gives you that flexibility. So each phase itself can be iterative. Many of the phases can be iterative, but it does not really mean that you have to follow from A, then B. There is no then. It is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Okay? Perfect. Now, going to 9.1 certification, ideally, TOGAF origins a customer initiative, a framework, not an architecture, a generic framework for developing architecture to meet business needs, not one-size-fits-all architecture, originally based on TAFIM, US DOT, Department of Defense. Okay. Now, this is the history of TOGAF. So we started in 1994 as a proof of need. Then it became a proof of concept. Then it became a proof of application. And today, or recently, as we saw in TOGAF version 6, we had architecture views, and then so on. We moved on to today, which is a technical corrigendum for one applied. And again, TOGAF is a framework and a methodology which is consumer driven and practitioner driven. Okay, so hence it gives you that flexibility that it is vendor neutral, industry neutral, and has reference models that can easily be modulated for your organization's requirements, guys. And this is one of the reasons why it is such a success. Okay. Now, any questions, guys, on thus far that we are trying to do, or what it covers or entails? And this is a general picture wherein it started from customer member demand architectures and how it was member driven, and how today we are at 9 which is an enterprise edition. And like somebody asked, right, how frequent is the version changes? As you can see, TOGAF 9.1 was in 2011, and we haven't had a TOGAF 9.2 yet. Okay, so they are quite okay with that. I think majority of the development has been done. There are very few things that are still pending. I, as a practitioner, would say that the next version should be more around data and service-oriented architecture. That is the logical next version that will come, so which is already being developed. Okay, so are there any, okay, Anil asks, are there any popular architecture frameworks similar to TOGAF in the market? Yes, Anil, there is. So one of the competing or one of the best other framework is Zachman, which is more complete in terms of a framework because it provides you very in a very modular fashion around conceptual, physical, and implementation level details of each and every object. Okay, but it is a framework. It is not a methodology. It does not provide you how to do it. It only tells you what is to be done, not how. Okay, that is where it has failed. Okay, how you spelled it? Okay, I'll type in here Zachman. Zachman framework. It is from John Zachman. Okay, and then there are others as well, like I said. So Gartner also has its own framework. Then you have DODAF, Department of Defense Architecture Framework. Australian government has its own framework. US, again, Federal Enterprise Architecture Framework, and the Department of Defense has its own framework. Okay, so again, there are so many frameworks, but do not get confused by that, guys. Remember, TOGAF has been very smart in that way because of the people being involved in it, that it is recommended from people to take in different frameworks, and it was evolved in that fashion. So it has goods of all the worlds. Okay. Okay. As enterprise, Mehul has a question, guys. As enterprise architect, is it recommended to learn about TOGAF and Zachman? Not necessarily, Mehul. What matters is that if you know what enterprise architecture is, okay, TOGAF is a more generalist and is more modular. Hence, I believe if you stick to TOGAF, you will be quite safe. You should be able to clear all hurdles pretty easily. Okay, but yes, if you know about other frameworks, it will give you an edge in interviews. It will give you an edge in organizations. Then you will know that, okay, yes, I know about other frameworks, but I believe TOGAF is a better one. So yeah, that's your pitch, I would say. Right? So any other questions, or you guys are good? Okay, perfect. Okay. So let me go back to the slide and go to the next one. So if you see in TOGAF, like I said, and it would answer all other questions around frameworks, the TOGAF emphasizes on business goals as architecture drivers and provides a repository of best practice, including the development method, which is how to do it, guidelines and techniques as well, TOGAF architecture content framework, which provides you what is there, where to use, exactly like Zachman. Okay, Enterprise Continuum teaches you or tells you about what frameworks exist, what are the reference models, how it can be used in a generalist way when you're discussing about logical or conceptual discussions, and how it can move from enterprise to a solution level discussion. Okay, wherein from an architecture building block, you move to a solution building block. Okay, then it also has reference models, and again, reference model is something that you will also be able to build it yourself. There is no hard and fast rule per se that you have to follow certain reference models. Okay, then TOGAF also has its capability framework, which shows you and discusses and details out how you can measure at what stage of architecture is your organization currently practicing enterprise architecture. Okay, so it starts from non-existent to optimized. Okay, so you will have optimized, and then you have defined, then you have currently practicing, and so on and so forth. Again, this is something that you can also customize based on whatever your organization's dictates, leadership dictates. Okay. Okay. Do we have no other questions? Okay. So long-term goals for TOGAF, an industry standard, generic enterprise architecture method, usable on its own or in conjunction with other frameworks. This is the beauty. Like you see, you have several frameworks, Zachman, Spivak, DOT, framework, TIF, okay, but these are individualistic framework, guys. If you want to use any other framework with these, you will not be able to complete the entire ADM. Okay, or entire phases like TOGAF is so comprehensive. You might get stuck in technology, you might get stuck in, let's say, application, and I haven't seen any other framework apart from Zachman, of course, that details upon business a lot. Okay, now almost all focus on products, not method. See, so they are all more product specific, not method specific. Now TOGAF and not TOGAF or. Okay, now version 9 is evolution from TOGAF 8.1. It is closer alignment with the business, restructuring for ease of use. Okay, overall structure and core method for enterprise architecture can be filled out in future years. Like I said, they are already on the verge of cracking a data entity framework. They are already discussing around service-oriented architecture and its methodology, which will be part of TOGAF's regular curriculum as well. It's already part, but it's still not like that detailed. Okay, any questions coming in? No. Okay, so going to the next slide. So here we talk about two of the components, and we'll have other components as well, but let's start from ADM. So ADM, like we discussed, is a methodology. It talks about how you would carry on a particular architecture work. Okay, and in terms of architecture content framework, don't get puzzled by very detailed diagram, guys. Let me explain you very simply. So a content framework is nothing but what would you do in architecture vision, right? You would capture what is the business strategy, what is the technology strategy, what is the business principles, objectives, drivers, right? What are the architecture vision stakeholders? So now read it like this, right? So architecture vision is the top green items. Okay, architecture requirements is a horizontal which you will revisit all the times for each and every phase, correct? And in business architecture specifically now, the blue section, you see, you try to capture the goals, the objectives, the measures, okay? Then how your organization is structured, where is the organization currently present, in which locations, what are the kind of roles that is present, you know? And then you try and capture the functions, you know? So this is what the content framework is. So for every phase, you will have impacting content from the content framework, and you will try and create certain models. You will try and create certain work packages, certain views for each of these phases, right? And that is where you will use the architecture content framework to which level and for which viewpoint. Remember viewpoint, the kind of stakeholders that you would be interacting with. So if it is business, his viewpoint would only stick to, let's say, I just want to know what is the business strategy, goal, objective, and measure. I don't want to know what is the data entity interacting. I just want to know what my business is all about. So your views would only focus on business architecture level. No? So these kind of things will be enabled by a content framework. Now, if you go to the next slide, here we talk about the reference models. Now, as you can see on the left, there are certain sections where it shows the infrastructure applications, the business applications, or application platform interfaces. So you will have different kinds of views. So this is how one of the reference model looks like. Okay. Then you have on the right another type of a reference model. Okay. So a reference model is a generic model that can be used to tailor a more specific model of yours. So in the right column or in the right image, if you see an application platform, so in this case you might just call it Java J2E application platform. So what are the information consumer applications? So all the applications for information or for the consumers, you might list it here. Then for each consumer application, what are the development tools? what are the brokering or the message broker applications here? What are the management utilities or the management systems that you have for those applications? So you might list it here. You see how a reference model can be used. So from a general, you pick that object out, and then you try to fill each layer with more specific one towards your use case. Okay, this is how a reference model will be used. Now, in terms of ADM guidelines and techniques, as I see here, you can do strategic architecture with different phases. You could do segment architecture, you could do capability architecture, and remember that it is not step by step. It is logical based on what type of work or a business problem you're trying to solve. Okay, and again, on the right image, if you see, you have corporate functions, CXOs, enterprise security. So you would have. So this shows you more in terms of what is a general structure of an ADM application. How would you apply an ADM? This is one of the ways that for corporate functions, you meet these guys, you try and understand what are the different type of things that you would want to capture. Okay. Now, okay, any questions, guys, coming? No, okay. Okay, so now, like I was discussing, guys, for enterprise continuum, so there is an architecture continuum, there is a solution architecture or solutions continuum. So let's say for insurance, or let's say for banking, I believe most of us are from banking, or most of you guys are from banking industries. So let's say you would pick a reference architecture of banking, okay, like an industry architecture, if you see here in the center, and then you will have organization-specific architecture, and then you try and create your specific organization's architecture based on that. Okay, this is how these three play together. Okay, so an enterprise continuum is more around foundations, and then you pick pieces out of it and you create your own architecture. So it can also be treated as a reference model, but ideally it is not a model, it is more around examples of different foundation architectures and reusable components out of them. Okay. Now, if you see an architecture capability framework, so this is more or less talking about how an operating model of a capability framework works. Okay. So if you see, we have governance bodies which directs the skill resource pool. Then we have project portfolio governance, which has contracts or I would say deliverables that would be driven because of these, and then you have business operations. And the enterprise continuum plays how and what information will be going in and out of the architecture repository. Okay. Now, okay. And any questions on this one, guys? If you guys want me to discuss in detail, we will have that phase coming in when we will discuss this in detail. But still, any questions around this? Anyone has any doubt in these terminologies or components, so to speak? No? Okay. Okay. So let's go to the next. So these are more around the standards. So as you can see, we have executive overview, core concepts, definitions, and release notes. In the part 2, we have architecture development method, which is introduction to ADM phases. Part 3 shows ADM guidelines and techniques. Then in part 4, we have architecture content framework. In terms of content framework, we have content meta model, artifacts, deliverables, and building blocks. Continuums and tools, we have enterprise continuum, which is again like I discussed. It has 3 components to it, which is enterprise continuum itself. It has the architecture and the solution. And remember, guys, it might sound a bit boring and drag at the moment, and it might sound like it has a lot of terminologies. Of course, it has a lot of terminologies. It might sound that it is very confusing at the time, but when you would have a tool in front of you, an enterprise architecture tool, at least the sections or the deliverables that you would want to see would come to light, or come to life, so to speak. Okay, because you would be able to see how and what an architecture you can create, and how each building block fits together, and how you're able to create different models and views. Okay, hence it is very important to know these terminologies, because this will come in handy when you will actually be doing it. Okay. So, okay. So in terms of architecture partitioning, it is nothing but you are going to share the responsibility of capturing architecture or doing the architecture work with the skilled subject matter experts of those business lines or for those topics. So hence partitioning. So you will discuss on the depth, how much do you know about that area or that business line, and then you will see what is his expertise in capturing certain kinds of requirements. Okay, and then like in the last row itself, it says tools for architecture development. So there are many tools. We will discuss it, and I've given some names also. In TOGAF reference model, you would have integrated information, the triple IRM model, and the foundation architecture, which is the TRM, technical reference model. In part 7, so these are the chapters, guys, that you will find online also on TOGAF's website. Okay, so these are exactly the number. The part 6 is the chapter number wherein you will find TOGAF reference models. Chapter 7, you will see architecture capability framework, which talks about how an architecture board should be created, what is the compliance structure, and what are the things that you can do to enforce compliance, enforce contracts, how an architecture governance plays, how an architecture maturity model is, what are the skills framework around people skills. Okay, now these are the details of each section or the component, so to speak. So in ADM, we talk about an iterative sequence of steps, as I was discussing. In the reference models, you have the technical reference model, you have the triple I reference models, right? Guys, am I audible to you guys? Just quick, will you demonstrate? Okay, Suvijit has a question. Will you demonstrate using a tool as part of this course? Unfortunately, Suvijit, I don't have a tool installed on my Mac as of now, but I can request Edureka support team if they can enable this. I don't think so we have a tool training as part of this course. Will you be considering the use cases for the ADM phases? Yes, of course, Siddesh. I will in fact give you the last project that I have worked on. I'll discuss that in detail, and wherein we developed a customized architecture development methodology from TOGAF for that organization. Okay, where can we find the TOGAF books? Siddesh, it is available online. You can go to TOGAF's website. In fact, in module 1 presentation, there is a link for TOGAF 9.1 book, but it is very detailed. It is a PDF document you can download. Can you name some of good tools? Yes, I can. Let me type it here for you guys. Sparks 12.0. You have Eris. You have iServer. Then you can also go for Provision. These are just some of the tools, guys. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So very quickly, guys, going through. Okay. So I think we have completed it before time. So I think we have good 20 minutes for question answer sessions, guys. So please go ahead and use this time. Let's go ahead and ask questions. If you want, let me know. I'll unmute you and I'll answer your questions. Okay. So let's begin. See what you're typing. Sorry, I was looking at this. Sure, we can't see. Okay. Mohan, let me unmute you. I think. Hi, Mohan, you are on air now. Please ask me your questions.
No, Vishwa. It's okay. So I was saying that I was looking at your screen that you are sharing, the tools that you are typing on your screen. Then I saw it's in the question box.
Okay. Okay. So you did not get my response because I sent to all, I think.
Yeah. No, I got it actually. As I said that, I thought that you were typing in a notepad or something.
Oh no. Okay. So Siddesh asks me a question. Okay. So Mohan, I'm muting you back. I think I've answered your question. Perfect. Okay. So, okay, Siddesh, so you had a question, how relevant are today's topic from certification perspective? Okay, so Siddesh, most of the certification topics would, or top certification would be primarily based around, I would say, architecture building blocks, how governance works. At least the last couple of people who have got certified based on my suggestions, these were the relevant topics that they were asked. So yes, part of what we discussed today will be definitely useful for you guys. Okay. Mehul, do we need to register or fill application with TOGAF like it is done with PMI? So once you have appeared for the exam, Mehul, then you would be asked to fill in the details, and when your certificate arrives, you will again fill a form and stuff so that it gets registered with TOGAF. So yes, you are maintained on TOGAF's website. Okay. Does that help? Does that answer your question? Okay. Anil, if you can show us how to use iServer or any other popular tool, it will be helpful. Sure, Anil, what I'll try and do is, okay, Rajesh. Yeah, Rajesh, give me a second, I'll unmute you. Let me just quickly answer Anil's question. Yeah, Anil, so as part of this training, I don't think so, the tool training was covered, but let me ask the support staff, because it makes sense that if I can show you certain ways of modeling on the tool itself, you would really see the value in this boring terminologies and stuff. Yeah, I'll try to do that for sure. Thank you. Does that help? Okay. If I need to, okay, MS Sadashivam has a question. If I need to start my organization and move it into TOGAF, then what is the good place to do? Assume we are from phase 0. Okay. Okay. So start my organization. Okay. So Mr. Sadashivam, let me unmute you because I think I need more details. Okay. Okay, Mr. Sadashivam, you're online.
Yeah, Vishwa. Actually, you see, if I would like to introduce TOGAF into my organization, which is the better place to start, basically?
Okay, so here's a twist to your question. So if you want to introduce TOGAF into your organization, you must first explain them the value of enterprise architecture. Okay. To explain enterprise architecture, you would need TOGAF ADM to show them. Okay, so the architecture development methodology, that is how you will use it. So to explain them, first, the value of what enterprise architecture will help you achieve, that it will help you achieve your current organization's requirements, and it will help you achieve what you will need for your future requirements. And we can do this by implementing TOGAF. This is how you will have to pitch it. Okay, but then
this is business or sorry to interrupt. Is it to business or to the CTOs and CIOs?
No, it will always be the decision makers, and here this is the reason I said that stakeholder management becomes very important as part of your enterprise architecture role. Okay, because you wouldn't want to discuss with people who do not have decision making powers. Okay, because if you would discuss with them, it will only be repeating yourself in front of a gatekeeper. Okay, so it is better to discuss it in front of decision makers, which are CXOs, so that it becomes part of the organization as a function itself. So try to bring enterprise architecture as a function first, and then push the methodology in. So once a function is ready, once they have realized that, yeah, we need enterprise architecture, it makes sense. Then you say, okay, so then the methodology that we can follow is TOGAF because it is XYZ. So this is how you would want to play it. Does this help?
So just to start as a team, so can I have some of the group domain architects into an enterprise architects, or do I need to hire for enterprise architect and then?
Not necessarily. You can use your existing architects. You can use your existing architects, play on their strengths, and you can then push that, okay, we need an enterprise architect now, or you can train somebody. So architecture skill matrix will tell you exactly that. So if you have a, let's say, application architect, okay, you can train him to become an enterprise architect, of course.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Okay. Perfect, man. No problem. Okay. So next question I have, okay. What would we concentrate more on from today's session? I would say more around, Siddesh, to answer your question, I would say that we need to focus more around architecture, building blocks, and the terminologies that we have discussed. Okay, and of course, there is a quiz and a case study, I believe. So yeah, take them. I think they are pretty decent enough. Okay. Without tool, it will be very dry. Yes, Sujit, I understand that. I know it's very difficult to answer this question, but I would like to ask Rajesh, please give me one last question to take, and then I'll unmute you, please. I know it's very difficult to answer this question. Mehul, this is yours, but would like to ask, what's complexity level of TOGAF exam? Is there any percentage ratio of candidate passing? Mehul, it is like the board exams. No, just kidding. Okay, so the complexity is decent. Okay, they do ask pretty detailed questions. It's not like your normal PMPs and ITIL questions. It is quite detailed because you will have scenarios to answer. Okay, and if any one of you once becomes certified, which I hope so, then you would also have another option of open CA certification, which you can take on your own self. So you will have to write like, what have you done in the projects, and where you have done these projects, put in references. It is like your curriculum vitae, okay, which is sent to the TOGAF group. So that is one of the ways also. But yes, it is a detailed examination, and I do not know the current percentage ratio, but at the time in 2010, I believe the ratio was around 60 to 70% passing out of 100%, as in 100 people appearing. So that helps you. Okay, Rajesh, I'm going to unmute you now. Yeah, Rajesh, you're on air, man. Please ask the question. No, you're not? Hey, Rajesh, are you online? Okay, I think Rajesh is not online as of now.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, okay. Hi, Rajesh. Yeah, please tell me.
Hi, sure. So, since it's the very first class and we still have a way to go ahead, let me be very blunt here and upfront, and allow me to be, I mean, let me directly come to the point. So, to be very honest with you, see, after this first session, I could only retain 5 or 10% of what you were showing us or
I understand.
right?
I understand.
Second thing, reason. What the basic reason I think which I can think here is lack of examples in the slides, or probably if you could have followed one model behind which you could have explained us all these things. Let's say, for example, setting up a small firm, any kind of example. Any small firm, and how you can relate all these things to it, it could have been much better. Another thing I was really wondering, I mean, you guys are providing this training and you don't have any handouts for the participants, because today we directly joined for this training, and I don't think so just going through these slides will help us anywhere. I mean, anything from your side, any kind of PDFs or I mean handouts which we can go through before training or after training, so that we can better retain the knowledge. So
see, I think there are 2 or 3 parts to your question, Rajesh. See, one, let me answer the first one, as in the last one first. So regarding that handout, I think Edureka is more focused around to give you these presentations that are part of the LMS that you can access at any time. Okay, but I understand your concern. I believe 71 slides of terminologies is boring. I agree to that. I have no second thoughts to it. Okay, now relating it to a project. So I tried to relate relevant ones, but I did not go in detail, because we will go in detail for each phase. Okay, so when we will go into detail on each phase, then I will use examples to bring it all into real life projects. Okay, because for terminologies, man, it becomes very, it will be too time consuming for too irrelevant a thing for now. Okay, because when we will go into business architecture, we will use those terminologies again. Okay, and at that time, it makes more sense for me to connect, okay, business services, business processes, because then we will delve in that domain itself. You understand what I'm trying to put together? Because in terminologies, you understand. For each terminology, I cannot give you a story behind it, okay? Because it will just be 71 slides of stories then, okay? Because later, when we go into phases, at that time, it would become more relevant for you to spend more time on the phase itself. And then we will discuss stories, as in then we will discuss the real life project itself, wherein we implemented what and how we used those terminologies. But again, there would be a challenge, man, because if we do not have a tool, you would not see artifacts. So I'll try and pull some examples that will give you a visual representation of how that looks. Would that help, right?
I think that would help.
Yeah.
That would really help.
Yeah, because I see your point very clearly, because even see, man, reading 71 slides of just terminologies, I understand it is very dry, okay? But then understand that it had to happen. It has to happen, because without that, you will not know which terminology to use. And when I use it at that phase level, then it will be a difficult one. Then you'll ask me, what does ABB mean? You understand? Hence, we covered the terminology, the boring part now, you know, done and dusted. Now, when we move into the phases, we will go into more, it will be more fun, I think, at that time. And we will try to give you visual things as well, so that it becomes more fun, I believe. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
Any other questions that you have? And yeah, for that handout thing, I'll speak to the support. Let's see if we have certain crisper handout. Instead of slides to go through, if we have certain cheat sheets sort of things, I'll try and see and get that to you guys.
Because do you think so these slides will be enough for clearing the examination as well?
Man, for clearing the examination, I think it's more around, it's more centered around the actual work of TOGAF. You know, even if you read it, it is very tricky to say as of now that will it be good or bad, because what the last guy told me was that he got a lot of questions around architecture, enterprise continuum. Okay, how to use enterprise continuum, what does it have, and then governance of the entire architecture itself. So these were the two core areas in his exam. So it depends. So hence I'm saying it is very tricky to say that, you know, whether it would cover it for you or not.
But I mean, this is you who will be guiding us through, right? So what we should study, from where we should study.
Yeah. See, what you should study.
That we need to go through apart from the.
For that, apart from this, you wouldn't need any other document. Trust me, this is very, very detailed.
Yeah, that is what my question was.
It is very detailed. But what will come is very tricky to say, Rajesh, because what will come, you have to be ready for that what. I cannot say what will come. I can only advise that these are, let's say, major topics that TOGAF focuses on. This is the best I can tell you. But yeah, I can make you ready for all. Whatever might come, you should be able to handle it. That's my
that's fine.
objective.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So any other questions apart?
No, I think I'm done. Thank you very much for now.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so do we have, can I extend, I can see case study against each. Yes, Suvajit. Will you discuss them? No, I will not discuss them, because that is something, Suvajit, that you will have to do at your comfort and time. Once you have completed them, then we will discuss it. Where to take this TOGAF exam. Okay, let me unmute you, Mr. Sadashivam, just a second. I think you have a couple of questions. Yeah, Mr. Sadashivam, you're online.
Yeah, hi, sure. Yeah, my first question is, can I extend my ITAL framework into TOGAF framework, or do I need to set it up separately?
Yes, yes, you can. See, ITIL framework generally talks about IT strategy, right? It talks about IT operations, service management. So there are 5 major topics there, right? So you can see a lot of overlap on the existing TOGAF ADM, and you can extend it. So if you are already ITL knowledgeable guy, once by the end of this particular training itself, you will easily be able to see the overlap very easily. And in fact, what I'll try and do is that I have done a couple of work wherein I have compared ITIL and TOGAF both in a visual. I'll try and find that for you, and I'll show that maybe in the next or a couple of class when it becomes relevant for you. Because I've done
if
it
you can
before.
share
Hence, I'm saying that with that confidence.
Yeah, can you share it with us? It would be a great help if you can share.
Okay. Sharing might be difficult. Viewing is possible. I can show it on the screen. Sharing might be a bit difficult because it is an intellectual property I developed for a client. Okay, because I did a comparison, I'll tell you, between ITI, TOGAF, and ETOM. ETOM is another framework in the industry.
You can remove the the branding and all those things if you want.
Yeah, I can try. I can try that. I think I can try that. No worries.
Yeah. And also the exam, where do we need to? Is it Prometric Center or?
It is Prometric. Prometric, and the exam code I believe is OGO093.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
And this is part 1 and 2 combined. For separate ones, you'll have to check.
So 1 and 2 combined in the sense it's a straight one exam with both these levels, is it?
Both the, yes. It is a longer examination, but it covers both, and you can directly get certified.
Okay. What do you advise? Is it better to take one by one or?
I would advise 1 and 2 both.
Is it commercial difference is there or it is only technical?
I don't remember the fee now, man, but I don't think so. There is a huge commercial difference, even if it is. I don't think so. In fact, it is more cost effective to take both together.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect, man. Thank you. Okay. Do we have Siddesh has mentioned, Edureka has mentioned they'll give vouchers. Can you tell us what these vouchers are? Okay. Siddesh, these vouchers are nothing but examination vouchers. So you can redeem them at Prometric to appear for the examination. Okay. Siddesh, that you'll have to check with support team, man. Sorry, I will not be able to answer that. I don't have any idea onto that. Okay, Shubhajit, let me unmute you. Yes, second. Okay, Shubhajit, you're on air. Guys, last question. Yes, Shubhajit, please tell me.
Hi, Vishwa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Hi, Vishwa, as I just pinged you in one of the questions. I can see case studies against each module. So when we'll start the next class, will we be discussing those case studies and getting answers from us, or how will that work?
Okay. So for quizzes and case studies, okay, the support team at Edureka helps you go ahead and provide you scores and explanations on them. Okay, which is of course influenced by me. Okay, so we do have that in place, so don't worry about that. So whatever case study you appear or you do, you will get the feedback on that case study for sure. But we will not discuss it, because again it will become 10 case studies. You understand? If there are 10 people, it becomes 10 people discussing 10 case studies.
No. Here the case, I can just see the first. I can see module 1 and module 2 case studies. It's just a multiple choice. There's a case study given, and we have been asked to give the most suitable answer against 4.
It is situational questions. Yeah.
Yes. So how will we get to know what is the right answer? Is my question.
You will get to know through email itself, as in you will get to know from the support which was the right answer. You will get an answer and a score also on that.
Yeah, but here it's just a downloadable PDF. There's no place where I can submit my answer.
Yeah, you will have to complete it and send it to the support. And this is for everyone, by the way. that any case study, please complete it and send it back to the support team in the LMS itself.
I do not see actually a place where I can do that, but anyways.
Now email them. I showed you an email, right? Let me open that Word document for you. I think I had it open. Give me a second. We had, yeah, this one. Guys, can you see my screen?
Yeah, but there's no email ID.
This email. The first one.
Can't see, Vishwa.
You can't see my screen?
I mean, I can see your screen. Yeah, now, okay. Support at Edureka.com.
Yeah, this one.
All right.
Hmm?
So basically, I need to
Any other
send
questions?
the answer and they will tell me whether it's right or wrong along with the right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. So, Shojit, any other questions that you have?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Perfect, man. Okay. So, thank you guys for attending today's session. I have taken a couple of notes which are very, very important, and I will try and incorporate them starting tomorrow, or maybe if not by tomorrow, definitely by next week. Okay. In the meantime, guys, please, after this session itself, you will get a survey form. Try and fill it, and do share your feedback, and do write to support@edureka.co in case you have any questions or queries, and try to complete the case studies and send them. Okay. So have a good night, guys. Speak to you guys tomorrow. Thank you.